Good morning. During the declared emergency in the City of Toronto, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted via WebEx, an online digital platform, and will be live streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and a provincial order that limits attendance at public gatherings. My name is Nancy Oman, and I will be chairing this hearing. Panel members participating via WebEx and who can be seen and heard are Lisa Valentini, Joanne Hayes, and Peter Reed. City staff will be assisting us throughout the meeting, including moderating the WebEx platform. Agents, applicants, and other interested parties participating in this virtual hearing registered in advance and will be connecting through WebEx using a compatible electronic device. Their participation will be through audio only. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and it is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to the property, permission to extend or alter lawful nonconforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. Anyone who wants to receive a copy of the committee's decision for an application must submit a written request by email to the general email address for the Committee of Adjustment, Toronto and East York District Office. Please include your name, address, and an email address. All Committee of Adjustment and TLAB notifications and appeal updates will be sent by email only. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body known as TLAB, or in some limited circumstances to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal known as LPAT. Appeal instructions will be set out at the bottom of the committee's decision. Participants who have registered in advance will be connected to this virtual hearing and will be muted automatically upon entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, an agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. When addressing the committee, please speak slowly and clearly state your name and address. Please confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. Where required, the applicant or agent will proceed first with the presentation of the application. Then, individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have completed their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent will be unmuted and will have an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion, and the application will be taken into committee for a decision. Please note, the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application, if substantially revised, to ensure the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice are informed of the changes. All right, panel members will be adopting the minutes this afternoon, and in the meantime, do any of the members or staff have an interest to declare this morning? Okay, seeing none. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, are you aware of any requests to close or withdraw any applications?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now proceed with the hearing. Just bear with me 1 second. And I also want to apologize for the delay. We were having some technical issues, so hopefully there won't be any more today. All righty. Item number 1 is 225 Rank and Crescent. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have an 8-signature petition in support from residents on Rank and Crescent. And I don't see any objectors listed. Is the agent on the line? Mr. Sibinek, are you there?
My name is John Sibinek. I'm the agent for this application at 225 Rank and Crescent.
Thank you, Mr. Sibinek. Panel members, do you need a presentation? Okay, I can't see all of you, but it doesn't look like you need a presentation. Do any of you have a question? Mr. Reid.
Thank you. Could the applicant just outline what was constructed without a permit, please?
The entire house, including the garage, was constructed without a permit. According to a survey, a historic survey from 2003, construction was underway on this property, and an order to comply was issued in 2003, identifying that there was no permit obtained for this particular property, which is highly unusual in a development of this size and scale.
So is it just this property? Because I know this is part of a larger development, as you say. Is it just this property that didn't have a permit, or is it?
Yeah, that's my understanding, is that was this property, and it might be the fact that it's a corner lot, but it's not any different than the one at the south end, which is 159 Rank and Crescent. And in that grouping, there were two semis and one detached dwelling. So this is almost a mirror image at the south end to the north. And that relationship between the garages is almost identical. The side entry is identical. It's in the exterior side yard on Willow Avenue. And I think that's where some of these issues come up with the zoning relief that we're seeking at this application.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Any further questions, panel members? Okay, Mr. Sibinek, the panel members have read all the materials. We don't have any further questions. Is there anything that you need to add before we go into committee? You there? Mr. Sibinek, are you there?
Yes, I am. Sorry about that.
Yeah, as I said, we read the material. We don't need a presentation. We have no more questions. We're ready to go into committee. Is there anything you want to add?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you, sir. Panel members, we'll take it into committee for a decision. Any comments and a motion?
Madam Chair, I'm prepared to begin. This is obviously has been built for some time, as we just heard. It's part of a small development, and in my view, obviously, it's in keeping with what is currently around it. I don't know how it got built without the permit, but that's probably not an issue anyway. I think that the variances fit within what's going on in that small little context in terms of the development. So I'd like to bring a motion forward for approval of the application without any conditions.
Okay, motion to approve moved by Ms. Valentini, seconded by Mr. Reid. All in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. The next item. Okay, thank you. The next item is item number 243 Willow Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. And we have a staff report. Forestry is asking for condition number 2. Do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, good morning. My name is Ian Zhang. I'm the agent of 43 Willow Avenue.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, do we need a presentation on this one? No? Do you have any questions of the agent? Ms. Valentini and then Mr. Reid.
Hi, good morning. I just was curious, I don't see in the plans current elevations for what the property looks like, but I did note that you're putting in a front a front below grade integral garage. So as far as I can tell, that doesn't currently exist on the property. Is that correct?
The garage is not is not in the existing building. It's new.
Oh, it's new, but the footprint of the building in terms of the width of the current house, because it looks like from the description, you're putting on a full second and third story, and it's not changing in terms of width. Is that correct? The footprint of the property, the width of it?
Yes, it's correct.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Reed?
Thanks. I noticed in the plans that the integral garage, it seems to have a downward slope towards the house. Is that right? And if so, I'm wondering why, because usually we have a variance request for that. So could you speak to that, please?
You mean the garage? No, there's no change.
The driveway to the garage, like, is it sloping towards the house or towards the sidewalk?
It's have a look. It should be towards to the sidewalk.
Okay. Thanks.
Any further questions, panel members? Okay, seeing none. Ms. Zhang, the panel has read all the material. We have no further questions. We're ready to go into committee. Is there anything you want to add?
I think there's just one
Right,
variance,
we only
just
have,
like
that's
this.
correct. We have one variance going from 0.6 times to 0.74 coverage. Okay,
Yeah.
all right, panel members.
I have no further questions.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, let's take it into committee. Can I have discussion and a motion, please?
I'm happy to start. I think this is a minor variance that's being requested, and I think the fact that it's only for FSI and it's not triggering any variances related to height or depth or side yard setbacks, I think that's it's a pretty modest ask, I think, and it's representative of redevelopment in the neighborhood. So I move a motion to approve the application subject to urban forestry condition 2.
Okay, do I have a second? Ms. Hayes?
I'll second.
Okay, motion to approve, including forestry number 2, moved by Mr. Reed, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. The next item is item number 3, 309 Warren Road. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a previous committee decision that affects the property. Do I have the agent on the line?
Yes,
Okay, can you just identify yourself for the record, please?
yes. Yes, my name is Tina McMullen. I'm the agent for 309 Warren Road.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, I don't think we need a presentation on this one. Do you have any questions of the agent? Ms. Hayes?
Just have one question. Could you just briefly indicate to us what constitutes the need for the change in the front yard soft landscaping above the previous approval that was granted?
Absolutely. The previous application concerned only the house, and at that time when the application was submitted for committee, there was no landscaping design or landscape architect on board at that point. Subsequently, the owner retained myself to design the front yard landscaping, and given the grade conditions on site and the finished floor elevation at which the house was set, and the need for the client to be able to get down to grade, we had to add a number of steps to basically extending into the landscaping in order to make that happen. There was a total of 15 steps necessary, so that necessitated pushing out further to get down to grade, basically.
Okay.
Thank you, because I noted the previous decision had reduced it to 70%. So, okay, thank you very much.
Any further questions, Mr. Reed?
Yes, thanks. I'm not sure if I'm reading the plans wrong, but did these stairs go into the public right-of-way?
They do encroach over the property line, and the reason for that is that in order to get all of those stairs in, to make it down to grade, and to have them be safe in terms of their width for and ergonomically suited to exterior stairs. Also, in order to have a couple of landings so that it's not a continuous run of 15 steps and is a little more aesthetically pleasing in the streetscape as well. We did have to extend beyond the property line to make proper widths of landings and steps. We plan to apply for a right-of-way agreement, a right-of-way permit with the City of Toronto for that, which would be considered a minor landscaping encroachment.
Okay, so, I mean, I understand the kind of aesthetic approach, but you could build these stairs without having to enter the public right-of-way, is that right?
I don't believe. Well, I don't believe so. Given the need to kind of make sure that each step is the proper width. I mean, if I were to reduce them, I don't think steps less than 12 inches wide in an exterior context are safe or comfortable. And I've done many landscape projects where we've had minor landscaping encroachments into the right of way, and I've never had a problem obtaining the permit from the right of way department for a minor encroachment like this.
Okay, thanks.
Any further questions, panel members? Seeing none, let's take it into committee for a decision. Any comments and a motion?
Well, I'll just start with a comment. I understand like the reasoning behind the design of the stairs, but I think it's unfortunate it wasn't considered as part of the original application. And I think it's unfortunate that it has to extend into the right of way, and particularly because it really does stick out, I think, on this street compared to the other setbacks within the front yard. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings on this one.
Actually, I just want to.
I
just want to go out of committee for 1 second to the agent. Did you have anything to add? Because we have read the material. I forgot to ask you before we went into committee.
I just wanted to say that I completely understand what you're saying about extending into the right of way. I do think that it is a positive contribution to the streetscape. It will be properly landscaped and vegetated and planted appropriately. The owners are planting a brand new street tree of significant size that will also be located on city property because there was an old tree there that died and had to be removed. And so I think that there will be the overall mass of the steps will be softened by the soft landscaping and vegetation that will be planted this spring. So just wanted to add that.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I know the opportunity for questions, is it gone?
No, go ahead. I haven't gone back in, so if you have another quick question, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I'm just looking at the plans again and the encroachment. Right now, the driveway does encroach, obviously, right into the right-of-way?
Yes.
The right-of-way extends quite a bit into the property, not into the property, but the large portion of the driveway is in the right-of-way as of now. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's actually, the property line is almost 6.3 meters back from the sidewalk, which is quite a deep setback. And that's one of the reasons why we aren't able to comply, because the actual area of the front yard is so small.
Okay. That I just wanted to confirm that. That's how I read the plans. And I wanted to make sure I was actually reading that correctly. So thank you.
Okay, so let's go back into committee. Any other comments?
I understand where Mr. Reed's coming from in terms of encroachments, but we haven't heard from, I guess that would be transportation services or one other department. I don't know. We haven't heard any comments from the city. I think the fact that the driveway is encroaching into that right of way, the right of way is big. It's still, the right of way and it's city property. But I think the fact that we've got like about half the driveway in the right of way, to me, feels like the encroachment and the actual, the encroachment's not our issue, but the ask for the 0 setback is not as significant, I think, in my view. It would have been ideal to have this all done at the same time. I agree 100%, you know, because they're asking for reduction in softscape, but I think they're going to have a nice planter there. And I have no problems with this application, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Ms. Hayes, do you have anything to add? Otherwise, I'm ready to take a motion.
Okay, I'll move a motion. It is unfortunate that it wasn't all done at the same time, and although the stairway is grand, I think it's overall with the plantings being proposed, I think will still be suitable for the characteristics of the lot. So I would move a motion to approve the application with no conditions.
Okay. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second it.
All right, motion to approve, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Ms. Valentini. All in favor? Okay, your application's been approved, and Mr. Reid, you're dissenting? Okay.
Correct.
Okay, thanks. Okay, thanks, Ms. McMullen. The next item is item number 4, 5 Beatrice Street. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. Correspondence in support from number 13. No speakers are listed. Can I have the agent identify herself for the record, please?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, my name's Maria Denegri, and I'm the agent for 5 Beatrice Street.
Okay, panel members, do you need a presentation on this? No? Do you have any questions of the agent? Ms. Hayes and
I
then
have one
Ms.
thing.
And then Ms. Valentini.
I just wanted to, one question is, when I'm looking at the site statistics, am I correct that the soft landscaping is remaining exactly the same as it is currently in terms of the square meters?
Yes, you're talking about specifically about the soft landscaping in the front.
Yes, yes.
Yes, the front yard setback is taken up completely by the front porch, the existing front porch. So all the greenscape that exists in front of the house is actually public public right of way. So yes, we are not changing the profile of the roof porch. We are modifying the front porch slightly to accommodate the new entry into the basement apartment, but not altering the landscape.
Okay, Ms. Valentini, you had a question?
Thank you. My question relates to the new front entry. You are seeking a variance for that because it's not a permitted thing, but can you, I believe I saw other entries, is that correct? Can you just speak to whether there are other front entrances in this vicinity on Beatrice Street?
Yes, there are actually several front entries to basement apartments in the area. And what we've done is we've been very mindful to just kind of keep the character of the single family home from the front, and have discreetly placed the entry to descend parallel to the front wall of the house rather than perpendicular, so that it doesn't project any more than it has to.
Okay, any further questions, panel members?
I just have one further to my colleague's question. I had seen one at number 31. Were there others?
Yes, I do have, am I allowed to share documents?
No, I don't think that's possible. Sorry, we can only use what's been submitted in advance.
Okay. I think,
so
I had submitted a series of photographs of probably about 5 or so
All right.
freeways, and there's one currently being built right now about 4 doors up.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
okay, any other questions? Okay, We have read all the material, and I don't see any further questions to the agent. Is there anything else you want to add before we go into committee?
No, other than I understand the challenges of the front entry into the basement. For us, it was very difficult to accommodate a rear entry because the space between the two houses is less than a meter. And so we've done everything we can to just make sure it's discreet, and it will be landscaped and camouflaged, so.
Okay, thank
That's it.
you. Yep, great. All right, panel members, we'll take it into committee for discussion and a motion.
Madam Chair, I'm happy to start on this one. I do not see any of these variances to be of issue. I originally questioned the front entrance since it's not a permitted use, or a permitted thing. But I'm satisfied with what the agent has explained in terms of there being other front entrances, which I did see, and the fact that they can't put, or really it's awkward to accommodate that rear entrance given that there's no access to the back, which is another good point. So I feel that's satisfactory. I don't see any impacts for the one-story rear addition, and so I'm happy to bring forward a motion for approval of the application without any conditions.
Okay, I have a motion to approve, moved by Ms. Valentini, seconded by Mr. Reid. All in favor? Okay, the application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. Okay, the next item is item number 5, 24 Moreland Road. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, copy of the zoning notice affecting the property, presentation materials submitted by Ida Evangelista, the agent. We have a staff report dated 24th of March recommending refusal, correspondence in opposition from residents on Moreland, Willard, and Gilson Avenue. I'm showing 3 people speaking in opposition. That includes both adjacent neighbors. Are they all on the line? Yep. Okay. Can I have the agent please identify herself for the record?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Ida Evangelista.
Okay,
Toronto.
thank you. Ms. Evangelista, can you give us a presentation, please? No more than 5 minutes, and I'll start the clock when you begin.
Madam Chair, if I can just, before we start the clock, if I can, with your indulgence and the members, we have been communicating with neighbors, and for clarity, and we have made some changes to the application. And with your indulgence and the members, I was wondering if I could actually make a couple of changes now to the application. It's just relating to the FSI, the height, the removal of the side yard setback for the deck, and we stepped back the platform on the 3rd floor. Can I make those changes?
How many variances are you looking to change here? Well, okay, you know what, just go through them, but do it as per the notice, and then the committee will decide whether or not it needs a deferral or whether we can hear it today.
Okay, because the couple needs a home to move into, so we don't want to defer, and that's why I was just asking if I can. I know it's out of character, and I was just hoping that we could make some changes, because we have been communicating with the neighbors.
Okay, well, let's quickly go through them
Let me start my presentation. Okay.
No, I need you to go, hang on. Are you going to make these changes? It sounds like you agreed to these with the neighbors.
I have, Madam Chair.
Okay, so then I need you to go through the zoning notice. So the first variance is the height, which you're asking for
9.68.
Okay, so number 1, you're going to 9.68 meters.
Number 2.
Yeah.
0.96.
Okay. And the square,
215.9. 215.96 square meters.
215.96 square meters. Okay.
Correct.
And number 3.
Number 3,
Yeah.
remove.
Okay, number
Remove.
yeah, okay.
Number 8,
Uh-huh.
11.04 square meters.
Okay.
That's everything.
So that's all of the changes then?
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Okay, so I'm just going to run through them again. So variance number 1, you're going to 9.68 meters for the front and the rear exterior main walls. Variance number 2, you're going to 0.96 times, which equals 215.96 square meters. Variance number 3 is being removed. And variance number 8, for the size of the third floor terrace, you're going to 11.04 square meters.
Correct, Madam Chair.
Okay, panel members, before I go to the opposition and ask if they've seen, this stuff, then how do you feel about dealing with these changes today?
Madam Chair, I'm waving all over here. I guess I have a few questions. I think elevations would be helpful because I have a concern in terms of the height. I mean, one of my concerns in this application is the height, just generally speaking, in addition to the FSI. But, is this going to then result in a 3-story, 9.68 tall building that is a flat roof building? I mean, the current proposal has a roof. It almost appears to be a flat roof building in any event, but what is this going to look like?
Can I ask or answer, Madam Chair?
No, I just want to find out from my committee members right now. We're just in committee. I just want to find out if we should deal with this or not, because I don't think we need to. If you're leaning towards deferral, then I don't want to waste a lot of time on this.
I am not leaning towards deferral.
No, I know
Madam Chair.
you're not. I'm not actually speaking to you. I'm speaking to my panel members right now. Sorry. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think that I too would like to see how this is reimagined. There have been a number of objections to this proposal, and the planning department also recommended refusal. I'd be concerned that we haven't had the opportunity to have a fulsome review of what this may look like, and that would be my concern at the moment. I have some concerns with respect to the application in its circulated form, and I'm not sure that I can envision just by the basis of the numerics what these changes would mean ultimately.
Okay, Mr. Reid, your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't have a problem hearing the revised application. I think the changes are very minor, so I don't think it'll really materially affect kind of the application as a whole. I think I don't think it's going to materially improve the application to a significant level. So because of that, I'd be happy to hear it, but
Okay.
that's where I am.
The only thing I would add is that the changes I don't believe they address the landscaping issue, which was also flagged in the planning report. So I'm kind of on the fence either way. Okay, so I'm going to come out of committee, and Ms. Evangelista, at least half of the members are not prepared to deal with these changes, so I guess, do you want to proceed with the application as is?
Madam Chair, I would just like to add, and I understand, how the two members feel through you. The style of the home is the same, but I would like to add the change that we've made is if you look at the side elevation, the main floor and the second floor now lines up. The reason why we have in the interpretation of the zoning examiner, it's not a flat roof. This is a mansard roof. But what we have here is, if you look at the wall of that roof line, because the third floor will be in the roof line, okay? Now, if you look at the side of that roof line, it's at an 80-degree angle, okay? It's at an 80-degree angle, and through the interpretation of the zoning examiner, it's considered part of the main wall. However, it is a roof. This is not a flat roof situation. There is a portion of the roof that is flat. However, that is not why we have this variance.
Can I
to change that?
No, can I just stop you here? Because basically I can take a vote on this for the, like 2 members would be more inclined to either hear it as is, okay? Or it'll be a deferral. So I'm asked, before we proceed any further and sort of waste time, I'd rather you make a decision to either proceed with the variances the way they are. Otherwise, I'm going to take it into committee and take a vote on the deferral.
Then I will proceed as is.
Okay. So in that case, I'm going to reset the clock, and if you can start with your presentation, and then I'll go to the opposition. Okay. So go whenever you start speaking, I'll start the clock.
Okay. It is unfortunate that we just heard from planning last week. I did reach out to planning and agreed to make some changes, but coming in at the 9th hour has made it somewhat impossible, as we've seen. So as I started to discuss why this home has this main wall, and it's being considered a main wall height, is because the roof line is at an 80-degree angle. Okay, so in that, now this is a mansard roof. That side, the sidewall of that roof is at an 80-degree angle. If we change that side of the roof to a 60-degree angle, we have no height variance. We have no main wall height variance. This area is 11 meters in height and 3-story residential multi. That's what it's zoned for. So what we have to the underside of the eaves, we have 7.62 to the underside of the eaves. The third floor, the reason why we have it at an 80-degree angle is the owner is well over 6 feet tall, and that allows them for additional headroom space. So the area, this is in the Runnymede area. It's an area with compact residential lots, very eclectic variety of buildings, lot sizes, with a mix of old and new homes. There are 3-story homes in this area. There are semis, there are 2 stories, there are bungalows. It's an eclectic area. I have submitted a package where you will see photos of the area showing 3 stories. You'll see balconies. You will see many balconies in the area, many 3 stories in the area. So platforms do and are characteristic to this neighborhood. We are putting a 3-story, but as you'll see that there are homes in the neighborhood that have 3 stories in the roof line as we do. Our wall of the roof is, again, I repeat, at an 80-degree angle, and that's what has triggered this variance. Many of the variances relate to the existing situation. The front platform, it remains where it is, and that's why we have that variance. The roof eaves, it pertains to an existing situation. The rear yard landscaping, we have a small area, and if you refer to the site plan, you'll see that we are adding on a small addition to the garage. We don't have, the variance that we have to the side yard of the garage is for the existing portion of the garage. However, the new portion that we are adding on, there are no variances related to that. We are adding a very small strip, and I will add as a condition that we will put in permeable pavers so that the rainwater is still seeping into the tableland. So what we have here, many of the variances, as I mentioned, we have platforms in the area. If you refer to the pictures, I've also included the zoning examiner. his interpretation of the variance 1. You'll see the variance 5 on page 6. That very small portion, that is why we have a rear yard landscaping variance. I understand that the neighbors have mentioned drainage, but as we know, when we go through the building permit stage, we have to provide a lot grading and drainage plan. We have to come up with a system that keeps all the water on our property, so and no runoff onto neighboring property. We are well below the overall height of this neighborhood. We are well below, as I mentioned, that is, the main wall height is a very technical nature due to the 80-degree. You'll see that there are many, the surrounding context contains homes of 3-story homes, flat homes. It's an eclectic mix, and they're all harmoniously living together. What we've done is, and what we wanted to do and what we wanted to present was the step back of the second floor. The step back of the second floor, because what you have currently is a small cantilevered portion at the rear of the second floor. And that's what is constituting the, we have the FSI that's constituting on the main floor, second floor, and with the third floor. I respectfully submit that this area is undergoing regeneration with newer contemporary design elements. 3-story responds to the wants of today's residents, and it is permitted in this particular area, and it exists. The proposed variances will facilitate a reinvestment in a manner that respects the planned context and the existing built form. I respectfully submit that this application does meet the 4 tests.
Thank you. Before I go to the opposition, I just have a quick question, which is the house adjacent to it. Do you know how your roof is going to line up with the house beside it? To the right, that seems like a higher home, like with a...
Our roof line will be slightly higher than 151.
Okay.
I'll tell you 1 second. Yes, our roof line, their roof line is 151.08, and we will be approximately about 1 or 2 meters higher than them.
Okay, thank you.
Overall height.
Okay, thanks.
As the same as 24 Moreland, or sorry, 18 Moreland.
Okay, thanks.
Actually, 18 is taller than 24.
Okay. All right, panel members, before I go to the opposition, do you have a question, Ms. Valentini?
I just would like to confirm, I took a note here just to make sure. I would like to know if I'm correct in this note. The existing FSI is 0.43. I understand that's under what's permitted, but is that correct? Ms. Evangelista? Oh.
Yes, that's correct. The existing, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
It is a smaller home.
So I'm going to go to the opposition. Mr. Ferris, are you on the line?
Hi, yes, this is his wife, Lee Gibeau.
Okay, just give us your address as well for the record.
We're at 22 Moreland Road.
Okay, you have 5 minutes. I'll start the clock now when you start speaking.
Thank you. First off, I'd like to just mention how dishonest these people are. We've got a letter from them saying there was one minor variance, and we find out there's 9 and not all of them minor. Secondly, the person who owns the house is a contractor with Urban Co. So all the houses she's talking about, he's built, which really bothers me. But my primary worry is the green space. Our neighbor's backyard to the east at 20 Moreland constantly floods, and we have had street flooding. Us and 24 Moreland seem to be on higher ground, which means more runoff to surrounding communities, which I understand the city is trying to reduce. We have had, we have had a mandatory downspout disconnect implemented in our area, and yet we can decrease the green space. Also, I do not want the garages their garage torn back down. As you can see in the pictures we've attached, they're only 20 years old and they match each other. We've had neighbors compliment it. I don't want to be a joke on Blog TO or Weird Toronto, and I do think it would reduce our property value when they look at the backyard. We did an addition 15 years ago with 0 variances. We doubled our house size. It's big enough. And we kept the green space, and we would hope our neighbors would do the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Panel members, do you have any questions of the speaker? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Ms. Ferris. Okay, we have Mr. Vincent. Are you there?
Good morning, committee. Can you hear me?
Alrighty, let me just reset the clock. So you have 5 minutes. Before I start the clock, we just need your full name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Charles Vincent, and I'm at 26 Moreland Road, which is adjacent to the subject property to the west. And before my time begins, may I ask the committee to pull up the presentation that I submitted?
Sure, just give us a
That'd be helpful,
second.
and I'll just walk through that. Thank you.
Yeah, you submitted it online, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
It's attached to my letter of objection or letter of opposition.
Yeah, unfortunately, we got to surf through them all because it doesn't say which is which. So just give us a minute.
Thank you.
I think we found it.
That's it.
Alrighty, so I'll start the clock now.
Thank you, committee members. But before I dive into my presentation, I just want to say that I'm a bit flabbergasted that the applicant is proceeding with the application as it was originally submitted. There's been quite a bit of dialogue between the neighbors and the applicants. Had made some minor revisions to the plans, and I was certainly prepared today to provide some reluctant support to that revised plan, not because I think it's a development I'd like to see on the street or because it substantially addresses my concerns, but ultimately, you know, it might be something that I could have lived with, and I don't think there were really any better options, but you know, other than to live with it and move on. But now we're pressing ahead with the original application, and I think that's quite troublesome. But in any case, I'll proceed. So if you could advance to the next slide, please.
Hang on a second.
So in terms of the original application that we have before us today, I do have deep concerns about the proposed variances, and I would request that the committee refuse the application. And simply put, the application and the associated plans constitute an overdevelopment that doesn't satisfy the 4 tests. Next slide, please. With regard to the FSI and the height of the main exterior walls, I and my fiance are concerned about obstructed and shadowed views from our dining room, our kitchen, our bedroom, and our backyard, where we currently enjoy natural light and views of landscaping, trees, and skies. We think we'll be largely in shadow and be looking at a brick wall. We're going to lose morning sun that may compromise our existing landscaping, and all of these impacts are felt a little bit more acutely as we both work from home on a full-time basis. And I would note that the massing and the scale and the height is really kind of unprecedented when taken together in the context of the street. Next slide, please. This slide shows 24 Moreland in the context of the adjacent homes, and as you can see, both my home and 22 Moreland are modest in height, and we will be overwhelmed by the proposed height and mass of the development. And I measured the height to my gutters, which is just under 6 meters. So that kind of gives you an indication of how much higher the new builds will be. Next slide, please. As Lee said, you know, we also share the concerns about the reduction of rear yard landscaping. I won't repeat that concern other than to say that this request to reduce to 16% is truly unprecedented. In my review, no properties within 500 meters in the past 10 years have dipped below 40%. There's only been one, and the lowest was 34%. Next slide, please. We are concerned about the loss of privacy due to the setback and the scale of the proposed third floor terrace, nearly 4 times the size of the permitted bylaw maximum. We'll feel a loss of privacy and enjoy our backyard less for that reason. I know the owners of 19 Gilson, directly behind the property, are likewise concerned. They have a hot tub, which they enjoy in their backyard, and they're concerned about, you know, third floor terraces and neighbors kind of looking in from above on high. And in terms of other balconies in the neighborhood, a variance of this size simply hasn't been done. And in terms of the immediate context, there's been no variances on any of Moreland, Gilson, Rexford, or Windermere. And the largest variance that I could find in the past 10 years was for 9.7 meters squared, which is much smaller. Next slide, please. I would say that the requested variances in the plans really aren't in keeping with the character of the neighborhood, and it's not respectful of the prevailing heights, massity, and density. And I'd like to show you that this application is excessive, even in comparison to the two largest existing homes on Moreland. Next slide, please. The first is 1 Moreland, which is pictured here. It's at the end of the street. Next slide, please. 1 Moreland is the tallest on our street. It has the highest FSI, GFA, and it's the only street with only house on the street with a variance for main wall height. And this proposal really goes much further, as you can see in the comparison chart here, both in terms of the density, the square footage, you know, the addition of the third floor terrace, and certainly the rear yard soft landscaping. Next slide, please. The next property is 17 Moreland, which is the next largest by variance. And sorry, on this slide, this is really just the comments of the committee who have already recognized that 1 Moreland isn't in keeping with the character of the street. Next slide, please. The next property is 17 Moreland. Next slide, please. It's the second largest home on the street with approved variances, and it does appear large in the context of other homes, but it does maintain a look and feel that's more consistent with the street. And again, this application goes much further.
Mr. Vincent,
which you can see here.
You're over 5 minutes, so I need you to wrap up, please.
Okay, thank you. I'll just conclude that really we believe this application is an overdevelopment that will have direct impacts on our privacy, our enjoyment of natural light, and our views, and it really doesn't fit within the neighborhood or meet the four tests. We really wish the application could have proceeded with the amendments to the variances to scale it back a little, to be a little more sensitive, but we are where we are today. So thank you for your time.
Great, thank you. And just so you know, the panel members, we do get these materials in advance, so we did go through your presentation. So we've gone through all of it. The last speakers I've listed are Sharon and Kevin Barnes. Are you on the line?
Hello, can you hear me, Madam Chair?
I can. Are you the one that's going to be speaking, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
My name is Kevin Barnes.
Yeah.
And I live at 1313 Moreland Road.
Okay, got it. I'm going to start the clock now, so whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. First of all, I would like to say I concur, and my family concurs, with Board Member Valentini when she pointed out to the board that this is not a renovation, it's a reconstruction. You're putting a 3-floor home currently in a 2-floor home. And we are afraid that approving all of these variances will set a precedent for the future construction in the neighborhood, allowing for these oversized homes to be built on small lots, overwhelming the skyline and dwarfing the existing homes on the street. We do not understand the need for 3 floors above ground. I think the new building would be one of the highest, if not the highest, to the community. And to my knowledge, looking at the plans, no one on Moreland Road has a 2-car garage in their backyard divided by 2 separate entryways. In one of the variances, from what I read, and believe me, I'm not a lawyer and I'm not an architect and I don't sit on your board, but in one of the variances, it's proposed that they need this garage so the wife can park her car. Currently, the people who live in number 24 park behind each other in the space provided, or the new residents, whoever they are, can apply to the City of Toronto for a parking permit on the street. I don't think there would be too much opposition if the new people and any construction would match the similar renovation of 22 Moreland Road, and everything continued to match. in my conclusion, and a lot of the members of the community, these variances should be denied, right? The distinction between 22 and 24 Moreland Road match. They're barn-style roof homes that are 2 stories, and they have matching garages. I'd like to thank the board, their members, and you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to speak. And I would ask you and your fellow board members to deny all variances when it comes to this property. Thank you very much. I'm here to answer your or any of the board members' questions.
Thank you.
My wife and I and family have been here for 30 years.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Barnes. Panel members, do you have any questions of this speaker? Did you have any questions of the previous speakers? No? Seeing none, thank you. Ms. Evangelista, you there?
Yeah, yes, I am, Madam Chair.
Okay, so I'll give you 5 minutes to rebut the comments that were just made, but please speak to the issues that were raised. Okay, I'll start the clock now.
Firstly, I would like to just address Mr. Vincent's comment about being flabbergasted. We did make the changes. I presented them to committee, and it is not my decision not to put forward those new changes. So I just want to make that perfectly clear. I understand that this area, and as we mentioned, there is, the comments relating to drainage. The land slopes from the west down to the east gradually. That's just how the streets are sloped. As I mentioned earlier, we have to provide a lot grading and drainage plan. We have to retain all our water on our own property. The green space that we are requesting, if you refer to, there's 22 Moreland submitted a package. And in the package, there's a picture of the rear yard, as I have also included a picture of the rear yard. And you see that most of the area is concrete, landscaped. So we are adding, what we're doing is we're removing some of that concrete and we're adding additional green space. So we are making the situation better than what it currently is. Yes, this is a rental. We are adding, it's a 2-story home. We're adding additional square footage to the main floor. We're only adding an additional 18.92 to the first floor, an additional 39 to the second floor, and we are adding a 3rd floor. But I would like to add that 3rd floor is within the roof line. It's within the mansard roof line. You know, this is under the OP, this is designated neighborhoods. You know, neighborhoods will not stay frozen in time. They are subject to physical change in the form of additions and infill housing. I understand that, you know, we are making some changes here, and I respectfully submit that what we are putting forward is not out of character of the neighborhood. Mr. Vincent also made comment to the platform. Okay, there are no platforms that have been approved as of recent. However, if you refer to my package, and if you pull up my package, you'll see that there are many platforms in this neighborhood, much larger than what we are presenting. They're along on Willard, Dury, St. John's, Moreland. And I would also like to add that what we're doing is a gradual and sensitive renovation compared to what 701 Willard. They got a building length of 17.1 and with the current below, with the height of 11 meters and also 9.96 FSI. So for us to do a 17-meter long, 11-meter high, I respectfully submit that that would be much more intrusive on the neighbors to what we are presenting today and infilling the bottom of the side, on the west side, a little bit at the rear, the second floor and the third floor being within the roof line. And again, I would like to impress upon that with you, Madam Chair, and the members, the reason for that main wall height is simply technical in nature. And it is because that wall of that roof is at an 80-degree angle. If I change that angle, and it's to allow for the owner who's well over 6 feet high, it gives him additional headroom space. And I respectfully submit that, you know, this is a neighborhood. This is a neighborhood in demand. This is a neighborhood that, you know, will want changes moving forward. And again, neighborhoods are not to be frozen in time. And with this, Madam Chair, members, I respectfully submit that this does meet the 4 tests.
Thank you, Ms. Evangelista. Panel members, do you have any questions of Ms. Evangelista? No? All right, let's take it into committee for a decision. Any comments?
Madam Chair, I'm happy to make a few comments on this one. I feel that this application, in my view, I cannot support it. I feel that the height of the proposed application is too high. And I appreciate what Ms. Vangelis is saying in terms of it being a mansard roof. I understand that. And it's at an 80-degree angle, but it does read, I find mansard roofs do read as almost being they're flat roofed in a sense. And that slight angle, there's no question that a peaked roof softens any massing of a building. And I feel that the mansard roof does not do that. It almost reads as a flat roofed 3-story building, in my view. And I think that, coupled with the fact that they're asking for a height variance of 10.49 is excessive. I also have concerns about the FSI. We heard that the FSI in the existing building is 0.43. I appreciate that's well under what is currently permitted in the bylaw. But I think the height variance coupled with that FSI, in my view, creates a building that's far too big in terms of massing and size for the lot and for the general area. I did note there are a lot of bungalows and 2-story modest homes in this area. I think this house, as we saw in Moreland, in my view, will overwhelm the street. So I'm not in support of it. And I just wanted to note as well that in terms of the proposed changes, there's nothing that Ms. Evangelista put forward. It's not something that I can assess given I need plans to see those. I mean, I think this neighborhood is, as I spoke to the roof line, I think the roof line has a lot to do with height variances and massing. So anyway, I'm not in support of this application, and those are the reasons why.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Hayes?
I'd just like to add, while I agree with the applicant that certainly neighborhoods are in transition and neighborhoods, stable does not mean static. I agree with my colleague with respect to, whether or not the applicant agrees with the way the zoning examiner measured height. That is the variance that's before us. I think that the design elements and whether it's because it's at 80%, the massing, in my opinion, is too overwhelming for the property. I do acknowledge that there have been other 3-story or 2.5, 3 stories, but the roof lines of those homes do not have the same impact, and some of the lots that those homes are on are a little larger. So I would be inclined at this point of time to deny the application.
Mr. Reid, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, not much. I agree with both Joanne and Lisa. I think it's just too much, and I It's too bad because I think that the third story could work if it were stepped back, I think, for both the front and the rear. But in the format that it is now, I think it's too overwhelming on the neighbors. And the rear yard soft landscaping is, I think, a real problem for me. So I'll move a motion to refuse the application.
Okay, motion to refuse, moved by Mr. Reid. Do I have a seconder? You both raised your hands at the same time.
Lisa can be fine, that's fine.
Okay, so a motion to refuse the application for all the reasons stated by the members, moved by Mr. Reid, seconded by Ms. Valentini. All in favor? Okay, your application has been unanimously refused. Thank you. Item number 6, 17 Booth Roid Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. Presentation material prepared by Mr. Race, the agent. We have correspondence in opposition from residents on Hunter and Booth Roid Avenue, as well as Condor. And I have a lot of speakers listed here. So I'm showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 speakers. Okay, before I go to the speakers, Mr. Race, are you there?
Yes, hello.
Can I have you identify yourself for the record, please?
I'm Craig Race, the architect and applicant.
Okay, because there's opposition, I need you to do a presentation. You have 5 minutes, starting now.
Sure, so we have some supporting material. If you please pull up our design brief. The application today is for an addition to an existing building. It requires 4 minor variances related to parking, landscape area, building depth, and floor space index. If you could go to the first page. Yeah, that was the one, the first page there, please. Next page. So looking at the site in context, this is a very large site relative to the neighbors. It's near Danforth and Jones Avenue in the east.
Madam Chair, can I interrupt a minute? Did the applicant say 4 variances? I show 6.
Yeah, sorry, 3 of the variances are all related to parking. So,
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
So the existing 2-story, 3-unit dwelling with a detached rear yard garage is accessed via a side driveway here, which will be maintained. Next page, please. So the proposal seeks to add a 3rd story to the structure, as well as a rear addition. And the existing building will be retained and with only aesthetic upgrades beyond that. Next page, please. Looking at the site plan, we purposely avoided variances associated with height, main wall height, side yard setbacks, and the like. The existing north side yard setback is currently over 3 meters, and that's going to be maintained in order to minimize impact on the neighbors to the north. I'll also just draw your attention to the mutual driveway that will be preserved in the south side yard. The existing rear yard garage will be maintained to contain some parking and all of the waste bins and bike storage for the site. We contemplated demolishing this to add more parking and try avoiding variances, but this would have resulted in a much larger garage being required and significantly reduced soft landscaping. So we didn't feel that it was a worthwhile trade-off. That was reviewed in conjunction with community planning, by the way. Also, I'll just quickly draw your attention to on the property to our south, the neighbor has some parking spaces. We're showing 2, there are actually 3 there. And this proposal seeks to maintain access to those through our site. It's just the only way they can be accessed. Next page, please. Looking within the building, the depth variance was triggered so that we can add what is effectively a multi-story townhouse unit to the rear of the structure. We wanted it to be family oriented and we didn't want to affect the 2-bedroom layouts within the building. So we felt this was a worthwhile trade-off. And I'll also mention this will not be the deepest house on Booth Road. So there is depth precedent beyond our site. Next page, please. Looking at the variances themselves, We are technically 2 parking spaces short, 1 visitor and 1 for the occupants. We actually have space to accommodate 6 parking on our site within the defined zoning required areas and turning radiuses. So statistically, it's undercounted compared to the way it will function. And also, like I mentioned, we're going to maintain access to 3 parking spaces to the site that's south of us. In our consultation with the neighbors, we did find that parking was like the primary concern, and we're definitely committed to accommodating parking on our site in an organized manner, which was requested of us. And this includes maintaining access to those 3 spaces that allow neighbors to the south to avoid street parking and get in someone's backyard. Next page, please. So the depth, as discussed, is not setting a precedent, and it allows us to accommodate family-oriented housing. This also yields an FSI of 0.69 times coverage. Around there. There we go. Which we purposely kept this to 0.69 times because if we were only doing a rear addition, that's the statistic we'd be kept to. However, because we're adding another story, we were held to the 0.6 requirement. So technically semantical, if it was just a rear addition, we'd be meeting the bylaw requirements. And I'll just note that on the map, all the properties highlighted in blue are greater than 0.69 times, so we're well below the precedent for the neighborhood. Next page, please. We did include a sun study, which is in the appendix, but this just shows noon on our site. We are very concerned about shadow impact on the neighbors to the north as their rear yards abut our property. We found that the additional shadow is very minimal compared to the existing condition, and we purposely maintained that more than 3 meter side yard setback to minimize that. Also, the site slopes up, so those houses to the north are almost a full story above us relative to grade. Next page, please. The colors didn't export on this, but we did a letter drop to all the neighbors on this map. We also held a virtual town hall with interested neighbors to discuss the concerns that are in the letters. They were mostly focused on parking.
Mr. Race,
with everyone.
Sorry to cut you off, but you're over 5 minutes, so can you wrap up, please?
Absolutely. So I'll just conclude by saying this property is a perfect candidate for infill housing. Our goal is to provide family-oriented dwellings in a family-oriented neighborhood, and we made effort to follow the requirements of the bylaws, except where minor variances that were contextually appropriate resulted in beneficial trade-offs. Thank you very much. Happy to take questions.
Okay, panel members, we have quite a few speakers, so can we hold the questions till after? We'll go to the speakers. Okay, Mr. Chapman, are you on the line?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can. You have, if I can ask you to identify yourself, name and address for the record, please.
Tim Chapman, 15 Roid Avenue.
Okay, you have 5 minutes starting now.
Yes, I'd simply like to say that this building is already out of character in the neighborhood. It is the only triplex in any direction. The rest of the neighborhood is all detached and semi-detached homes. And I just consider that it's an overdevelopment for the area, that the rear addition is creating a situation which is causing basically all the other variances except for variance 119, and it's just creating a situation which there is I might add that this building exists at the end of a dead-end street, and so there's just too much congestion and traffic created by this building for the area. That's basically all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Chapman. Ms. Parent, or Parent, are you on the line?
Madam Chair, attempts were made to contact this interested party and they didn't answer.
I'm sorry?
Attempts were made to contact.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought I didn't realize it was you. Great. Okay, so the next person is Marilyn St. George. She, same thing. Okay, who do you have next then? Okay. Mr. Schlamas. You there?
Yes, good morning.
Okay, sir.
Yes, I'm here.
All right, great. Can you please identify yourself for the record, name and address?
Yeah, I'm Bogdan Slamas, 11 Booth Roid. I'm actually 3 doors south of number 17 on the east side.
Okay.
And actually, I park, I'm sorry.
I'm starting the clock now, so go ahead.
Yes, so I'm 3 doors down from 17, and where we have to park is actually the left side with the west side is all the cars can park south down the hill, and there's enough cars for that side. But on our side, we really only have 2 houses that don't have any parking spaces, and we park on our side, and therefore you only have room for the car to go by. There's no room for a car or a bicycle to go through. And where I park is at the very top of the of Booth Road and the dead-end street where number 17 turns into. And yes, my car gets hit all the time when people coming in, visiting, or trucks moving around because there's no room for them to turn around once they get up to the top. Because they have to back down, and our street actually is an S turn. So there's always collision accidents for the parking portion of it. And as far as I'm concerned, those garages, I've been here for 36 years, have never been used. They're not wide enough to put a car in the first place. And secondly, when the 2 cars or 3 cars that are parked in front of the garage, there's no chance of anybody, except maybe 1 car, to get into the last garage. But nobody's ever got in because the cars now, the SUVs and everything are bigger than the garages themselves. My complaint is also the size of this, the monstrosity is just so ugly looking. I mean, they've got pictures of they're going to be blue, red, whatever they're going to do with it. And the rooftop is so big now that it's going to erode all the water because the water has to come onto the property. And since the property they're on is a hill coming from the north to the south, it comes down the driveway all the time. And there's only gravel and sand and soil there. And it erodes the whole driveway and also makes a mud pile around our cars, tires. And when it snows, we can't even get a snowplow up there. So I don't know how they're going to do when they're going to try and get 6 cars because they are asking 6 apartments. They're not asking for an extra apartment or a townhouse beside it. They're asking the top floor is actually 2 apartments, 2 bedroom, 1 bedroom, and then a townhouse that goes right all the way up. And that townhouse extrudes them all 3 sides of the building, the east, the north, and the south. So not the north, but the east and west and the south. And it's actually making now Tim's property that the car now has to drive on top as closer to his fence as it was before. So I think with the erosion, the height, and the trees we have are the beautiful old maple trees and everything else. They have to be excavated, they have to be removed, they have to be chopped down. I don't see anything we can do plus this construction when they will start to do the basement apartment. How are they going to bring bulldozers everything up the street? There's no room for them to turn into the driveway because it is actually strictly a T. There's no curve on to get into this place. Most times, most people with SUVs have to turn around 3 times before they can even get down the street without hitting our cars. And so, as far as I'm concerned, parking, I can see maybe next to an apartment or townhouse, but I thought anything over 5 or 6 is a commercial building. So why is there a commercial building coming on to our residential dead-end street? So that's all I have to say. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't want this monstrosity there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, sir. I'd just like to remind everybody that the committee doesn't, I understand it can be frustrating, but we only deal with the planning variances before us, so we don't have any jurisdiction over construction things. And also, just so everyone knows, the committee members have read all the submissions, so we understand that there are concerns surrounding massing, parking, depth, loss of green space, traffic, lost trees, height, character, as well as emergency vehicle access. Okay, and also, please don't repeat the same issues that have already been raised, because it's not going to help your cause. And as I said, we are aware, we do want to hear from you, but please try to bring up any new things that haven't been raised yet. So who do we have next? Okay, Ms. Downey, are you there?
Hi, good morning. Am I audible?
You are. Can you please identify yourself, name and address for the record?
Yes, this is Jessica Downey, and I'm joined by my partner, David Pearl. We live at 12 Roid Avenue.
Okay, you have 5 minutes. The clock starts now.
All right, thank you. We are obviously sharing some of the concerns that have already been raised this morning. Just want to call to attention some more specific concerns around the parking. So as was mentioned by some of the previous speakers, this is a dead-end street with double-side parking. And even such, there is pretty much near constant competition for parking on the street, both with the residents themselves and with visitors. It's very difficult to get parking spaces, especially because I think there are almost no houses on the street that have parking pads or driveways. So that is a concern to us, that the one variance to pursue only 5 parking spaces on the property. My understanding is that the bylaw would require at least 1 space per unit, which would be 6 spaces plus a visitor spot for this development. Due to the already very high competition for parking on the street, that's obviously a concern for us, due to the fact that we expect that if tenants could not find parking, they would attempt to park on this street where there was already a lot of difficulty finding parking spaces, especially in the evenings, and as well might even seek street parking permits to park overnight on the street, which is by far the highest competition when everyone's at home at night. David, did you want to add?
No, I mean, we're always very already. I'm not going to cover all points that are getting mentioned. I will say this is a very development.
Hi, David. We can't hear you at all.
Oh, apologies.
Is that better?
A little bit, yeah. Try again.
Okay, yes. So this is David Pearl, also at 12 Roid. I won't get into too much detail. As you just mentioned, you don't want to hear a lot of repetition of the same grievances with some of these variances happening here. But I will just mention again the scale of this property at the very end of a small dead-end street that has rather innocuous semi-detached and detached homes. This really won't blend in with the character of the street. Parking is also another big concern too. I won't get into that. I think everything has been mentioned that there has to be mentioned for parking. And I think those should be taken into consideration. And if this was a development that were to go through, I think the parking needs to be explored further and has to at least meet the required amount of spaces for this development, and also take into account that spaces need to be factored in for visitors too, because as Jessica pointed out, my partner, especially in the evening, there is no chance you can get a car up or down the street whatsoever with how congested it is. And we're quite frankly very worried with the additional competition for parking, but also just traffic that's going to happen on this street. With everyone working from home, we have to deal with constant deliveries, other food trucks, things like that coming in. And if we're adding another 3 units here that are most likely going to be family units, I can only imagine how much more traffic is going to happen on a small dead-end street that is tight already. So I think that needs to be factored in here as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
That's all I have to say on that.
Okay, panel members, any questions of the speakers? Okay, thank you. Do you have Mr. Pearl?
That David Pearl is just speaking with me.
I'm sorry?
David Pearl is my partner. We both.
Oh, I see. Okay, I totally wrote down a different last name because you're not coming through super clear. So, okay, great. Thanks.
Oh, apologies. Jessica
Yeah, no
Downey,
worries.
David Pearl.
I'm sorry? Okay, so we're going to move to the next speaker then. Okay, Ms. McKee, are you there?
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I can.
My name is Brenda Mackay, and I live at 13 Roid Avenue with my husband, Keith Mackay, who's sitting here with me today. And so I live 2 doors south of the proposed property, 17. And I have a roof deck on my home. When they build their 3rd floor, it's going to definitely affect my privacy on that roof deck. You know, I have a very small property, even though I have 3 floors. It was done at the time to comply with the neighborhood and keep it below that height. So somewhere along the line, a neighbor got a variance, and so now it's just like, seems to be a free-for-all. I don't think that it's a small change to go from a 3-story building to a 6-apartment building in the top of a dead-end street. And I looked at the stakeholder consultation, which I think was page 9 of Fred Race's proposal, where he says, oh, it didn't show support. They went around with information to share with neighbors, but they did that like a week ago. They dropped it in our mailbox. They never approached us. And so this particular chart that he has that says that they visited with signed letters of support, and then they visited with verbal contact. It's a little bit further. That page there. So if you see at the bottom of that page, there is a chart that shows green and yellow, but none of those homes are ticked. And if you look at my chart, which I submitted the petition against the project, and I went around and I ticked everybody who we approached signed that agreement. So if you look at the last page, we weren't able to get some people, but if you look at that very last page, it should show you that chart where I've ticked. So I don't know how the landlord went around and got supposedly so much support, which he doesn't show and didn't indicate who was in support of his. But I think you can see that I got mainly everybody, except people who were not home or out of the country or not in Toronto. So everybody is against this. It's causing enormous stress that will not only affect our street, but will also affect all the surrounding streets as it overflows and spirals into the parking. This particular property, at one point in time, before the current owner purchased it, the previous owner had rented the 3 apartments to, I would say it was more lower income tenants. I guess he wasn't making enough money on it, and they were long-term tenants. So he basically told them that his family were moving in. And so he therefore had to evict them all, and he was going to fix up the place and it would be his family. That didn't happen. He paid them all $5,000 to leave. And that left one of the grandsons staying at their place. He had Graves' disease and he had a hard time getting an apartment. He had to stay with me for a year because he was homeless by that renovation. So the old owner rented out the apartments, and it was higher income people that moved in, people who had cars. Prior to that, those people didn't have cars. They had a wheels trans scooter thing. And so the point that I'm trying to make is that all these tenants that are there now, the three of them, and there's 3 cars in the spots all the time, they're going to be evicted in order for him to do a year-long renovation. That renovation is going to severely affect my work at home situation, because if I was to turn around my head slightly, I can see that property.
Ms. Mackay, you're over 5 minutes. I need you to wrap up, please.
Okay, I just want to say, people are not disposable. That landlord is not our neighbor. He's a landlord and a greedy landlord and causing stress to the entire neighborhood. Thank you. Thank you for your consideration. I would respectfully ask you to decline his proposal.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I again want to remind people the committee only deals with planning issues here. I understand there's emotional issues attached to this because I think a lot of you have lived in the area, but we can only deal with the variances before us.
Catch 22.
Sorry, is this Mr. Villa? No, okay, so who? I'm sorry, who's next? Okay, Mr. Francombe, are you there?
Yes, I am. Peter Farncombe. I live at 20 Boothroyd Avenue.
Okay.
Basically, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I'm starting the clock now.
Oh, okay. Basically opposite number 17 Boothroyd. Let me just start by saying that people on this street are really quite supportive of the notion of neighborhood development and regeneration over time. This particular development has caused a lot of fuss. It's like kicking over an anthill, and there are unfortunate reasons why that would be the case. Can I point out that you should have 6 photographs before you that I took, I believe, 6 days ago, and
photos.
I don't know if you have them.
Yeah, just a second. We have to find
Sure, no
your
problem.
submission. Just bear with us a second.
No problem, Madam Chair.
Mr. Francombe.
I apologize for the lateness of this submission, the photographs rather.
Oh, hold on a second. When did you send them in?
I sent them in on Monday. So Cindy Long had advised that this material would be provided to the board or the committee, and a decision could be made as to whether or not the photographs would be accepted.
Oh, so I'm not sure. It doesn't look like they made it in time for us.
Through you, Madam Chair, I believe the submission was late. It is on the AIC marked as late. It is up to you to consider it or not, but we don't include it in our package because it's late.
Well, we didn't get it in our package, so we didn't look at it. So perhaps you can just verbally describe it, because we get our agendas on Friday, so anything that comes in after that is not in our agendas.
Yes, my apologies for the lateness. It was the fact that I'm not entirely competent with putting photographs into a computer. But I was assured by Ms. Long that the material would be submitted to the committee and that a decision would be made at this time about, acceptance of the materials. So I think that it's sort of materially at a disadvantage not to be able to at least see them
Well,
beforehand.
again, committee members do visit the site, sir, so perhaps you can verbally tell us what you're referencing.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Sorry, you said that you did visit the site?
Yeah, it was, we do try to get to the sites, so we do have an idea of what, what everything looks like. So if you can just verbally tell us what you're referencing here.
Orally, I will. Thanks very much. Again, my apologies, Madam Chair. One of the things about all of the photographs that we've seen previously is that they really exaggerate the length of the street. This is a very short street. Whether it's the lens of the camera that was used earlier, yes, those are the ones, or for whatever reason, the length of the street is quite exaggerated. It's, in fact, it's considerably shorter than as it appears in this submission. And it's parking that is the main problem, as you'll have gathered. So I'll try not to be too, I'll try not to add too much to the burden of the information that's ahead of you, or in front of you rather. But the turn angle at the top of the street, this being a dead end, is extremely tight, as is the capacity to move a vehicle and turn it around at the top. It's really hard to go through this without envisaging it, but there are consistent log jams at the top of this street, and out of the frame of this particular photograph, although it's in the photographs I submitted, there is a significant turn angle just below where this photograph ends. And that's the angle. That really provides a great deal of difficulty, especially in winter. And given the fact that there's a 15-degree decline in the road itself, it's a very significant slope, and it makes it hard for anyone to negotiate up and down the street. We're certainly in sympathy with the fact that it is difficult dealing with cars in the east end of Toronto, and there is of course street parking permitted in many areas, but in the case of this street, it really it constitutes a very significant difficulty or even a hazard to the movement of individuals, let alone the movement of emergency vehicles up and down the street. And again, especially at the top. I've joked with friends that perhaps I should put a sign up at the top of the street on the fence that I built myself a number of years ago to the effect that there is a proper way of turning around, and it's not the way that most people use. You can't see that particular entranceway from these photographs. That's the fence that I built, the wooden one that you just saw. Yes, that one to the left. That's my house here. I'm a widower with 3 children, and I've done particular changes to the street to make it more comfortable and more reasonable for everyone who lives here. But we're all part of a small community. This development really is a large change.
Mr. Franco, sir, I've given you an extra minute already, so you're over 6 minutes, so I really need you to wrap up.
Sure, I'll do that. Thank you very much. I think that the developer who owns a number of properties in the area is really going above and beyond in curtailing the amount of parking that's available on his property. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Appreciate the
sir.
time.
Okay. Panel members, do you have any questions of the speaker? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Woodman? Yeah? Okay. Okay, Mr. Woodman, are you there?
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Okay, your name and address for the record, and then I'll start the clock, okay?
Hi, my name's Paul Woodman. I live at 14 Condor, which is directly behind the property at 17 Boothroyd.
All right, you have 5 minutes starting now, and please raise new issues rather than giving us the same issues, okay? Thanks.
Yeah, I think most of the issues have been, so I just say most of the issues have been raised are with regards to parking for my property and that of my neighbors. We share the corner of Hunter Street and Condor Avenue from 41 to 57 Hunter, and from the houses at my location at 14 Condor to 26 Condor. We represent 16 houses that are adversely affected by the increased looming bulk, the depth, the height, the width of the building. So variance number 2 requests an approval of the maximum permit depth of 14.0 meters to 20.5 meters, an increase of 46%. We believe this should not be considered as minor. The proposed building will extend far beyond the depth of its neighbors on Boothroyd, although not adversely affecting the sunlight on their backyards, which are to the south, but the increase in bulk of the building, both back to the east and up to the height by 1 story, will adversely affect the sunlight to and views of the backyards of 16 households on Hunter and Condor, as listed above. So, I'm going to skip to the part in regards to parking, but I think in regards to parking, I want to add that we do have major parking issues on every street in our small neighborhood, and I can share one of the community Facebook group postings this past week, which was Great Equinox parked on Boltby at the top of the hill. Please move your vehicle forward several feet so that someone else can park behind you without getting a parking ticket being so close to the fire hydrant. So, I mean, this goes on every day. I mean, when there's not parking on Boothroyd, it gets pushed on to a Boltby, and then Boltby gets gone to a Condor, and then we all have these issues. So, additionally, it would appear that variances 4, 5, and 6 are linked with variance number 5, increasing the number of spaces for parking spaces not allocated in the building. Less of the lot area can be maintained as landscape, thus requiring variance 4. Further, it would appear that the increase in surface parking area in the backyards of the subject property also makes necessary variance 6, as the parking must encroach within the 3 meters of all main walls of the apartment building. The impact of this increase in surface parking area in the backyard of the subject property to the south and to the west of 16 most affected households on Hunter and Condor will adversely affect the use and enjoyment of the 16 backyards, as direct view will be of parked cars coupled with the attendant noise, pollution, while the increased number of cars are accessing and departing the subject property. The entrance to 17 Boothroyd is a sloped driveway, and as the cars enter that driveway, the headlights come directly into my bedroom window. So usually between 12 and 2 o'clock at night, I get this, get the headlights coming in there. And it's been much more common now with additional cars going in there. I can't imagine, with the additional added traffic and apartments and changing it from a 3 to a 6 apartment building, there's definitely going to be more of that, into my bedroom window. So, we don't have a 3-story commercial building of the proposed in our neighborhood, and it does not fall in line with the other properties within the pocket boundaries. We don't see this as desirable. Parking, 7 spaces are required. Proposed 5 spaces. No visitor parking. We can't see how that's desirable either. It's the altered apartment building with this depth of 20.5 meters is an increase of 64%.
Okay, Mr. Woodman.
Variance.
Mr. Woodman, you're over 5 minutes. I need you to wrap up.
Okay. Again, with this consideration in mind, we, the neighbors affected by the proposed strongly urge the committee to reject this application. You know, we've got 22 signatures from Booth Roid, 16 on Condor, and every house on Hunter, except for one that was just recently sold. Thank you, Madam Chair and Pam.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted clarification on one small thing. I was a little confused by some of the presentation materials. Is there laneway parking? It looks like on some materials it shows a laneway for part of Condor and Boothroyd. So I'm assuming there's parking in the rear of some of these properties. I think the speaker I think he said it was 12 Condor. Is there a laneway, sir?
I'm on 14 Condor.
Oh, sorry. So then it doesn't look like it extends to you.
I have no laneway in the back of my property.
Okay, you don't, but is there a laneway back there for some of the houses?
There is a laneway that enters off of Boltby.
Okay, I just realized that because I've been looking, that's one of the things I always look, is there laneway parking? Just curious, and I just wanted to confirm that. You just happen to be talking, so that's why I'm asking you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Any further questions of the speaker? Seeing none. Who do we have next?
Madam Chair, we can get a hold of George Bayless. So the next speaker on the line is Dylan Gerard.
Okay, Mr. Gerard.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can. Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you. My name is Dylan Gerard. I live at 47 Hunter Street, which is the house directly north of the proposed construction.
Alrighty, starting the clock now. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. I'm going to open by saying I really, really hope that you will deny these variances. I think that is the main point of why you're seeing such an uprising of the neighbors at this incredible amount. These variances are not minor, and there are a couple things here that I think have obfuscate the truth from the people proposing the construction. One, calling it a two-story is a misnomer, as it is a split level. You can see from the photos quite clearly that there is a basement level that comes up above ground, then there is the first level, then the second level. It's not a two-story becoming a three-story. This is really more like a 2.5-story becoming a three-story. I'm not an architect, but that's a visual call on that one. Also, the sunlight test is something I find kind of laughable. Taking a sunlight test at noon, which is when the sun is absolute highest and projects the least amount of shadow on anything that is tall, seems like a bit of an obfuscation of the experience of what will happen during the other 24 or 23 hours of the day. The height of this building will absolutely obscure the sun from all of Hunter Street as the sun moves across it from the entire range. Our sun comes in from the south. This is by far an overdevelopment. There is no building like this anywhere in the neighborhood. The building itself is already massive. I actually don't know if I'm allowed to share my camera on a call like this, Madam Chairman. Is that possible?
No, it's not. Sorry.
Okay. Well, just
is there something you want us to pull up? We can pull up the street on the screen if you want through Google Maps.
If you pull the street and zoom in on the building, or just even if the committee could look at the footprint of the building. It's going across 3 properties already, across sort of the back of Hunter Street, if you will, and they're basically proposing to extend it a full property. I think it's funny when you look at these proposals and you see 14 meters to 20 meters. It's a full 20 feet. It's going to take on a massive new angle and become enormous up the top as well. Any proposal calling this minor is really just cooking the books, in my opinion. Just a sec there. There's a huge impact on privacy. Having all these windows suddenly appear in my backyard isn't something I think I would appreciate. I have small children. They play in my backyard. I don't appreciate that. I think it sets a terrible precedent for future builds in the neighborhood. The Pocket is a small neighborhood of smallish houses, and this is going to be a monolithic structure. It's too huge. It's already one of the biggest buildings in the neighborhood, if not the biggest. I can only think of one other structure that might be even close. It has windows going up 3 stories. Like I said, it's a massive impact on property. It's going to obstruct the view from our dining room, from our kitchen, from our backyard, and like I said, a massive amount of sunlight loss. I'm just trying to cover the things that I think haven't already been stated.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but yeah, in that, parking on Boothroyd obviously isn't a huge effect for us up on Hunter Street, but I do see how it's going to have an ancillary effect that will spread across the neighborhood as basically people have to hunt the whole neighborhood to find somewhere to park. I mean, even now with street parking, most people often park on streets several blocks from their own house. As with the pandemic, no one really leaves. So when you come back, all your parking is gone. I will say, and I recognize my time is running out.
You have about a minute and a half.
Oh, great. I think that the true scale of this is being downplayed by the architect so they can successfully get what they want. They're adding an entire house on the back of a massive apartment building. That's really what's being proposed here. We're like, oh, it's like a small extension. No, it isn't. It's even referred to as an entire townhouse that's going to go on the back of this building. And, a previous speaker spoke to how this used to be an area where, different people of various incomes could afford to live here. This landlord very clearly is looking just to make a giant amount of money on this, which is why he has to make the investment to justify paying the premium prices for rent that he wants to get on this. He wants to turn this into a luxury development where he can charge the most money. But it will have an enormous effect on this neighborhood. And I think you can see that by the number of people that are extremely concerned, that are raising their voices and signing petitions against these variances. When one looks at these variances as pieces, you can see how they could slip through. But the parking situation is a real problem. The garage situation that they say they're keeping to make it nicer for the neighborhood, I don't believe that at all. You already can't park in there anyway, as was said by another speaker. When you speak to the idea of the sunlight blockage and the massive scale of this will be like a towering, massive neighborhood that's terrible for us. Even just from a visual perspective, I think it will have a massive effect on property values around it. And I also believe that the green space lost is a concern as well. It is a deep lot, I do understand that, but in the documents that were provided, I tried to give examples of what the real percentages were, right? But we're talking about, an increase of additional 20 feet on the sides of the building. We're talking about a full 15% included there.
Now you are at the 5, actually over the 5, so if I can get you to wrap up.
Of course. Well, first I'll just say I thank you for your time, and I really do ask each of you to reject this proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Gerard. Any questions of the speaker? Okay, do you have Ms. Morrison? Okay, Ms. Morrison, are you there?
Hi, I'm Morrison. I live at 49 Hunter Street.
Okay, you have 5 minutes, and again, we know what, the issues are, so if you have any new issues, it'd be great if you could raise those now.
Sure, I'll try to be very brief. Firstly, I just want to note that it's really significant to me that in the 2 petitions that are included within the materials, almost every single person has received notice of this application, resident, property owner, has objected to it. There's not one single letter of support. So I think that speaks volume as to how this neighborhood views the proposal. I feel very strongly that the proposals and variances being requested are major, not minor, do not meet the test at all. They're significant on their own, and collectively they're even more significant. I'm particularly, my property, my backyard abuts this property. The rear addition that's being proposed, at a variance of 6.5 meters, is essentially an addition of a full house. 6.5 meters is the width of the average property in this neighborhood. That's not a small or minor addition at the rear of a property. It's a huge major addition, and it's not in keeping with the zoning and the bylaws, and that's why the variance is being requested, and that's why, I feel strongly that it's major and not minor, and it should be refused. I have significant concerns how this will affect my family. I live in in my house with my husband. I have 3 young daughters. My backyard will be significantly affected by this. My daughter's room is at the rear of our house. The new addition will have windows that will look directly into my backyard, directly into my daughter's bedroom. Those are huge changes to my life and my enjoyment of my property with my family. It will have effects on the available sunlight, and it also will affect the view. It will change the view that I see from the rear of my house from essentially being a side of a wall. And right now it's a view of so many backyards that have large trees. And, that's one of the things that I enjoy, that I, feel is special about my home, and why I like it because there's green space, because I can see this green area of all this backyards, and that's rare to find in a dense city area that we live in. And I think this is really just, overdevelopment and not desirable and not in keeping with what the bylaws is. I don't think it meets the test for approval, and I'd ask that you refuse it.
Thank you very much. Any questions of the speaker? No? Were you able to connect with any of the other ones? Okay, so that concludes all the speakers. So, Mr. Race, are you there?
Yes, hello.
Okay, I'm going to give you 5 minutes. I need you to speak only to the issues that have been raised by all the speakers, okay? Starting now.
Thank you. I'll just start by clarifying that there is no laneway access to the rear of this property. I think that came up before, and the laneway stops a few properties south of us, so it's only the side yard driveway. Speaking in general to all the comments, I think it's important to focus on the fact that this typology of building is as of right for this site. The number of units is as of right, height, width, and all building dimensions are as of right, except for depth, which we've gone to effort to make sure it follows contextual precedent, and we positioned it to minimize impacts on adjacent properties. The bylaws permit this exact type of development, and the existing building and the site dimensions really make it an excellent candidate for accommodating it. So it's not as though it would be unusual to fulfill the bylaws on this site. I'll also quickly mention we're not affecting any trees on the site. That came up. There are many old growth trees in the rear yard and the adjacent properties that we're not affecting. With respect to parking, 6 functional spaces will be accommodated on the site. I know the zoning requirements for clearances around parking and turning radiuses mean it statistically only has 5, but in reality, there will be room for 1 parking space per unit, which was intentional. And frankly, parking is a concern for us as well. If this proposal proceeds, we'll certainly be working with the neighbors to ensure the parking is organized with their collaboration. And that'll be important for residents of this site as well as for the neighbors. So it's really in our own self-interest. I'll also mention that the site is a 2-minute walk to a 24-hour bus stop, which is connected to the Danforth subway line just a few blocks north, the Gerard streetcar line, and the Queen streetcar line. So this area is extremely well served for non-vehicle travel. And because of this, we think that the number of parking spaces is suitable for the proposal and optimal for balancing other site requirements such as green space and covered parking. Finally, I'll just conclude by saying that the OPA and the zoning bylaws really embrace this typology of housing. It already exists on the site. We share many of the same concerns as the neighbors because the issues they have highlighted will need to be affected by us in order to properly operate the building. I posit that an investment in this site with neighborhood collaboration, which we're committed to solve parking and functional requirements, is going to improve the conditions that we share with the neighbors. I know that new housing can be tough to consider, but the existing site is not exactly a neighborhood asset. And we believe that this proposal will beautify the building and improve functionality to ultimately benefit everyone. And I'm happy to answer any questions if there's anything specific you want to go through.
Okay, let me see if the panel members have any questions. Anybody? No? Okay, we're ready to take it into committee then for a decision. Anybody?
I'll start with a couple comments. I think when I initially saw this proposal, I was a bit taken aback. It looked really large, and I was concerned about the impacts, but I'm actually supporting it now. I think the size of the lot it's huge, right? It's as big as maybe 4 lots in the area, and so I think I have to keep that in mind, considering it not really as just a lot that mimics the area, but is one that is suitable, I think, for multiple units and multiple families. I think also the difference in the topography, so I had concerns about shadowing to the north, but the topographical changes, I think, help to limit that. And then even just the variances themselves on paper are are quite small. I would have thought that we would have had bigger variances and more variances being requested. I know these are challenging projects for the neighbors, but I think this is an important kind of project to happen in the city, you know, filling this different typology within neighborhoods. So I'm going to be supporting this.
Okay, any other?
I struggled with this one as well, and went to visit the site. It is a large site, certainly is at the top of the street. Certainly the street is narrow. Certainly, yes, there is parking on both sides. When I look at the variances being requested for this proposal, as my colleague said, you know, the variance with respect to depth is really the greatest variances being requested. The applicant has indicated that parking, except for the variance being requested of one, can be accommodated on the site. I have to remind myself that although this building may be atypical for the neighborhood, the use is permitted. It's not a legal non-conforming use. And, you know, we have no comments from the planning department or any other departments, city departments, indicating that they have concerns with respect to the increases. So after a lot of consideration, I too would be supportive of the application.
Madam Chair, I'd just like to sort of jump in as well. I do find this to be a very difficult application, but I did note that I agree with all the comments my colleagues have made. And it is important to note that this is a permitted use. This is not, as someone had said, a commercial enterprise or sticking in something that isn't permitted on site. The 7 units are permitted on site. This, in my view, you know, very well acquainted with the East End. This is a gigantic lot, particularly in this area. It's a big lot, and I think it can accommodate. I believe it can accommodate the 7 units. I think it's going to be an interesting infill development that will help bring much needed rental accommodations in the neighborhood. And to be frank, I'm surprised, you know, they can accommodate 5 parking spaces on the site. I think that's pretty significant. Often we see developments where they're adding extra units where they have absolutely no parking, especially in the city. This is a very dense neighborhood. I know it very well. And the fact that they can accommodate 5 parking spaces and maybe even squeeze a 6th in is, I think, speaks to the fact that this is an appropriate development for this site. I understand the parking challenges in the East End very well, and I sympathize with that. I don't think there's a trend towards, you know, developments that don't rely on cars. I know in reality we do have cars, but not everybody's going to have a car that is renting. So I'm in full support of this application. So I'll stop talking.
Alrighty, so I'll need a motion then.
I'm happy to bring a motion to approve the application with no conditions.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, motion to approve, moved by Mr. Reid, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? The application has been unanimously approved. Thank you, everybody, for coming and joining us this morning. I would like to take a 5-minute break because we've kind of been at it now for several hours straight. So let's just take 5 minutes and we'll be back in 5 minutes.
stretch. It'll be fine. It's that's the
Okay. Are we good? Yeah. All right, the next item is 158 Grenadier Road, item number 7. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a staff report from forestry asking for condition number 2, not showing any speakers.
Hello,
Eddie.
Hi, Eddie. Can you state your name for the record?
hi, good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Eddie Perez. I'm here on behalf of the owner. We're proposing a 2-story addition to the rear of a 3-story dwelling and a basement walkout to the front, which is very common in the area.
Okay. Where are my members? Just a second, Mr. Perez. I can't see my members at the moment.
Okay, no problem.
We're here, Chair.
Okay.
Yeah, we are here.
Do you guys need a presentation? I can't see anybody.
No.
No? Okay, I'll take that as a no from everybody. Do you have any questions for Mr. Perez?
I have a quick question, Madam Chair. Mr. Perez, can you just speak to the FSI? That was the only question I had. Is it in keeping with what's in the area?
Yeah, it's in keeping what's in the area. If you look at the site plan, the house next to it is much longer than our house, and it's very common in the area, that FSI.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Any further questions? Seeing none? Okay, Mr. Perez, we're ready to go into committee. Is there anything else you want to add? We've read all the material.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's take it into committee. Any comments?
Madam Chair, if my colleagues don't have any further comment, I believe that the application as submitted is indeed minor. It's a modest addition. I think it meets the character of the neighborhood. They're not changing the footprint with respect to the setback at the front, and I think it's reasonable. And if there's no further comment, I would move a motion to approve the applications subject to forestry condition number 2.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion?
I'll second it, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So a motion to approve, including forestry condition number 2, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Ms. Valentini. All in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved. The next item is 74 Kendall Avenue. The committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a covering letter from Vanessa Fong, the agent, as well as revised plans with a covering letter. We have email correspondence from Heritage, and they have no concerns. Forestry is asking for condition number 2. And I don't show any speakers. And we also have correspondence in support from number 72, which is the adjacent property. Okay, Ms. Fong, are you there?
Yes, hi.
Hi, just identify yourself for the record, please.
Yep, for sure. I'm Vanessa Fong. I'm the agent for the owners at 74 Kendall, an architect.
Okay, we've read all the material and your covering letter, so I'm just going to see if the panel members need a presentation. Okay, that's a no. Do any of you have any questions? No? Okay, Ms. Fong, is there anything you want to add? We have read everything that's been submitted.
No, I think we've covered most of it in the application, very straightforward application, so.
Okay, thank you. Well, let's take it into committee for comments and a decision.
Madam Chair, I'm happy to jump in on this one. This is, as Ms. Fong has said already, it's a very straightforward application. The variances, in my view, meet the 4 tests. There's nothing that jumps out at me as being having any adverse impact on neighbors. And I think the addition is modest in size and in keeping with what is currently going on in the neighborhood. So I'm in support of the application. I'm happy to bring forward a motion for approval. And it be subject to urban forestry condition number 2.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve by Ms. Valentini, seconded by Mr. Reid, including forestry number 2. All in favor? Okay, your application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. The next item, item number 9, 19 Orly Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 3 photographs of the properties on Oak Park Avenue, as well as Crew, and 10 previous decisions affecting properties on Doncaster, Oak Park, Crew, Coleridge, King Edward, Cedarvale, and Gatwick Avenue. 7 form letters in support from residents on Orly, Epsom, and Westlake Avenue. Correspondence in opposition from number 18 Orly, number 11 and 13. I'm showing 2 speakers. Are they both on the line in opposition, or?
Madam Chair, only Larry Musicki is connected. I'm trying to reach Ian Jackson now.
Mr. Mastanarea, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So after reading all the letters of opposition, I spoke to the owners, and we would like an opportunity to defer the application so that we can revise our drawings to address some of these concerns.
Okay, I know we have 1 opposition on the line. Let me just go to them. If they're okay with the deferral, then we'll take it into committee. Is Mr. Musicki there? Yeah, Mr. Musicki?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi. As you just heard, the agent has spoken with his client, and they would like to defer to address some of the concerns that have been raised. We do have all the correspondence in opposition, so I just want to know how you feel about that, and which means, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. If they want to address the issues, I think you've got submissions from some of the area residents, and if they want to try to address them, I guess that would be the next logical step, and then we would, I guess, reconvene on this at a later date.
Yeah, it would be recirculated again, and you would be notified, but I would like to hope that the applicant will, or the agent will engage with some of the people in the neighborhood that have concerns, so, okay. Were you able?
Yes, I guess the only situation was that the letter that they circulated, they made mention in my submission anyways, that it was sort of really understating the variances that were being applied for were.
Right. You can go to the Application Information Center, which is under toronto.ca, and click a little dot for Committee of Adjustment, and then put in the address, and you can see everything there that's part of the submission, the plans and everything. So if you have a chance to do that, assuming this gets deferred, that may give you a better understanding. Okay.
So this whole thing would be go through basically the same process that we've experienced on this.
Exactly, like a new date would be scheduled. You'd have to actually re-register like you did this time if you want to speak again, and also if you have different comments, you would probably want to resubmit that as well.
That'll be, I'm sure that'll be fine. Can I ask one question though about this process here? Is that there's no, is there a way to see an agenda as to when people might be called? Because I was on at 8:20. I was listening to people before, remember that I was the guy sending the chats.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Where are you? What are you doing?
Well, unfortunately, we try to slot a few time slots, but unfortunately, and you may have noticed the few applications ago had a lot of speakers, and we're just not able to predict. Sometimes there's one speaker or no speakers, and it could take a really long time. It just depends on the nature of the application. So it's really unfortunate, but that's the best we can do in terms of timing.
Okay, and certainly some of the speakers aren't as charming as I am. And,
that's absolutely true. And on that note, I'm going to just see if our other speakers on the line. No?
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to go back to the agent now, but thank you very much, Mr. Masicki.
I'll get a hold of them. I know one of the guys that was going to be on this today, and I'll let him know right now.
Okay, thanks.
Have a good week.
Yeah, you too. Thank you for staying on the line so long. Mr. Mastrandrea, so you're asking for a deferral, so I'll take it into committee and see if the members agree. Okay, so panel members, to the deferral, and I think that if we're going to entertain a deferral, that it would be with the expectation that the agent engages with the neighbors to work through some of these issues, so that when this matter comes back, hopefully it'll come back in a different form and won't have the opposition it has now. So with that, I'm in your hands.
Madam Chair, I think I would tend to agree with the applicant's request to defer if there's an opportunity to more clearly identify what's before the committee and have an opportunity for discussion, may alleviate the questions altogether. So I would be prepared to move a motion to defer the application.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Mr. Reid? Okay, motion to defer moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Mr. Reid. All in favor? Okay, you've got your deferral, sir.
Madam Chair, can I just ask one thing of the applicant?
Yeah.
That I would find helpful moving forward. I noticed as part of the submission that there was a large number of previous decisions of the committees submitted in support of the application. I'll just speak for myself, but I would find it very helpful if, as part of your submission, when you're submitting those, if you could maybe provide an overview of or study of what you're looking to illustrate by providing those, because trying to compare one to the other, one by one by one, and seeing what point I think you're trying to make. Sometimes we may not be getting the point that you're actually trying to make. So that's just a suggestion and a request, if possible. Moving forward, I would personally find that helpful.
I would actually,
Yes.
I'm kind of glad you raised that because I don't know if it's this one, but there's one that has a map and it's like a huge radius, which seemed some of it was outside of the area, but I think Ms. Hayes is right. If you could condense it and have it kind of really speak to it, because it takes a lot of time to flip through this stuff and figure out what's where. And I think.
Yes, I will provide.
No, I was going
I
to
will
say
provide
it'll
a map.
benefit you in the long run, so.
Yes, I will provide a map showing that the properties which we did the 500-meter radius, and I will do a location map of all those decisions.
And keep it tighter,
And
too.
also maybe a summary of what you're trying to suggest the decisions are illustrating.
Like a little chart, you know, that has columns for GFA and whatever, instead of giving us all these pages and pages of decisions. I think that would be helpful.
Okay.
With that, thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is item number 10, 237 Logan Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. Forestry is asking for condition number 2. No speakers are listed. And can the agent please identify himself for the record?
Hi, yes, my name's John Kenthal, 1724 Ada Court, Pickering, Ontario.
Okay, panel members, this is truly minor with one variance. I don't think we need a presentation. Any questions? Okay, Mr. Kenthal, we've read all the material. Members don't have any questions. We're ready to go into committees. Is there anything you feel you need to add?
No.
Okay, thanks. Okay, let's go into committee then.
I'll bring a motion. And as the chair said, this is truly minor, and I think it is. It's limited to 1 story, and it's just a few meters extension to the back of an existing house. And I can see no negative impact on the immediate neighbors as a result of this application. And I'd also note that it's in line with other depths on the block. So I move to approve the application subject to urban forestry condition number 2.
Okay, motion to approve, moved by Mr. Reid. Who wants to second? Again? Okay, this time.
Pick Lisa.
Okay. All right, motion to approve, including forestry condition number 2, moved by Mr. Reid, seconded by Ms. Valentini. All in favor? Your application has been approved. Item number 11, 720 Palmerston Avenue. The committee has before it copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. Again, forestry is asking for condition number 2. Correspondence in support from 61 Barton and 713 Palmerston. I don't show any opposition speakers. Is the agent on the line?
Yes, I'm here. Laura McInnes.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, do you need a presentation? Do you have any questions? No? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. Okay, Ms. McGinnis, we've read the material. We don't have any questions and we don't need a presentation. Is there anything you feel that needs to be added from your end?
No, I think the application says everything, that it's in keeping with the neighborhood.
Okay, panel members, let's take it into committee.
Madam Chair, in my view, I think this one, I don't have any concerns with this one. It is a 2-story addition, and I was looking to see sort of, are there any, what I would perceive to be impacts on adjacent neighbors? And I did note that this is a corner lot, so there's just one neighbor to the side, and I believe, based on the plans, that this addition will be similar in depth to what's already happening at 718. So I am in support of the application. I think it fits in with the context of the neighborhood, and I believe it meets the 4 tests. I'm happy to bring a motion unless my colleagues want to jump in with comments, but okay.
Looks like they're good.
Okay, motion for approval, subject to urban forestry condition number 2.
Okay, do I have a second, Mr. Reed? Okay. Motion to approve, including forestry number 2, moved by Ms. Valentini, seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? Okay, the application has been unanimously approved. Okay, item number 12 is 1364 St. Clair Avenue West. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have 3 form letters in opposition, signed by occupants of 1194, 1196, and 1362 St. Clair Avenue West. I'm showing 2 speakers. Are they both on the line? Okay. Can I have the agent please identify himself for the record?
Hello, Madam Chair, committee members. My name is Marin Zabzuni at 1140 the Queensway.
Okay, just bear with me a second. Okay, can you, just one question I have before you do the presentation is I couldn't find anything that shows the 45-degree angle. Like, where is that penetration?
It's at the rear portion. I think we submitted up an elevation of it, but I'd have to check why it's not there.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's several of us couldn't find it, so I'm not sure where it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's not uploaded.
Okay. The 45-degree angular plane, we couldn't find any elevations or anything that shows it anywhere. Okay, I'll leave it with you for now, and I'll go to the opposition in the meantime. Or having said that, actually, I need you to do, so we don't have it, right, Mr. Zabzuni? Because I actually need you to do a presentation first for the, because we have opposition listed.
It's not, doesn't seem to be uploaded there, so we don't have it in front of us.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything when I was going through my agenda.
Okay.
So you're saying it's, where is it, in the back? At the...
Yeah, the 4th story.
Uh-huh.
It would have to show you a drawing, right?
Yeah, I know, and you can't do that. That's kind of one of the...
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't, we've been checking here, staff has, we have nothing that shows the plane.
And it's unfortunate. No one notified us that it was missing or anything. I didn't know.
Okay. I guess we'll just move forward right now. So I need you to do a presentation. You have no more than 5 minutes. And-
Yes, happy to.
Okay, so go ahead. I'm starting the clock now, okay?
Okay, thank you. So we're proposing a 2-story addition over the existing 2-story mixed-use building, and so it's a 4-story addition at the rear of the building. The proposed 4-story mixed-use building will contain retail and 5 dwelling units. So this is a high-density zone with a lot of development in the area. Multi-unit buildings are common use. The proposed 4th floor is set back from the front wall, and we don't have a variance for building height or number of stories. city planning has also not raised any concern with this application. There was another application that's similar massing, 1700 Sinclair, that was approved previously a few years ago. And it's a developing area, so this is becoming more common, and given the density on a main street, I believe it fits the foretest.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so do I have Ms. Chen on the line?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. Can you please identify yourself for the record?
My name is Jasmine Chen. I live and work next door at 1362 Sinclair Avenue West. I don't really have, I submitted my letter and an image of the street. I don't really have anything new, so I won't take up too much time, but I just want to reiterate, it's too much of a variance. I mean, they're doubling the number of story, and they're going to increase the residential, or what's allowed for residential gross area by 12%. That's like not minor at all. And as well as a 10% overage for the combined gross floor. It's just too much mass for such a little lot. And I think that will really impact on our neighborhood. But my biggest concern is the safety. They're using the back alleyway. There's only one entrance and exit for all 5 residential units. And they're using the back alleyway, which is a vehicle laneway. It's very narrow and it's not maintained. So it's really not meant for pedestrian access at all. It's really for vehicles to get into their garages, the residents around here. It's an access way for these vehicles to get to their garages. And also the laneway is so small. In case of any emergencies, the emergency vehicles like fire trucks will not be able to get in, or very difficult to get in. And of course, it will be the only one in the neighborhood that's 4-story tall. There's almost all the buildings in the neighborhood, which we've been here for 30 plus years, are 2-story buildings. There's some maybe 3 stories at the corners, but it's predominantly 2-story building neighborhood, and it will be totally, entirely out of character. So I'm requesting to deny this application.
Thank you very much. Any questions of the speaker, panel members? Seeing none? Thank you, Ms. Chen. Do I have the next speaker on the line?
So Joanne Catanelli, her call dropped. I'm attempting to give her another call right now. Oh, I believe I'm connected.
At the tone, please record your message.
So we're unable to reach Joanne Catanelli, Madam Chair.
Okay. Panel members, do you have any questions of the agent?
I do, Madam Chair. Is there any way to give us an idea of what penetrates angular plane? I think the agent has said that it's just the 4th floor. Is that right, Mr. Zabuzuni? Sorry.
I believe so. I wish I could send you a drawing. I didn't know this was an issue. No one warned us about. It's quite unfortunate. I'd have to check our latest here. Let me see.
Is there an elevation that we can put up that we do have, and you can kind of describe where it goes through?
No, if you had it, to describe it?
Well, that's the only other option, right? You can't send it to us. So tell us which.
I know we don't have a drawing, but
Yeah, tell us which elevation to put up, and then tell us where it goes through approximately.
On this, it's the side elevation, so you can use either side elevation that you have there, and
So right now, we have the north one up. Can you see it?
right. Yes.
Okay, is that one, can you describe it on that one?
Basically, where's the rear? The rear is on the right side, and basically from the third floor wall, penetrating at a 45-degree angle at the back, would be the angular plane. I believe it's about 7.5 meter from the established grade. So going vertically up, 7.5 meter, and then 45-degree angle from there.
So where does it start, where does the plane start penetrating the proposed structure?
It starts halfway through the third floor, I believe.
So the third floor itself penetrates the angular plane, not just the proposed fourth floor?
Yes, I believe it does.
Thank you.
Portion of it.
Thank you.
Any other questions, panel members? Okay, let's take it into committee.
I have a concern with respect to, even though it's just been described to us, but any penetration of the angular plane. Also, there are some 3 stories, one right at the corner, one kitty corner and another sort of across the street. I cannot see any 4-story structures along that immediate stretch of St. Clair. I think it's an over development and it doesn't fit the character, but my main concern is the angular plane penetration. So I would not be in favor of this application.
Any other comments?
Sure, I'll jump in. Yeah, I have concerns with the angular plane not being shown, and that's too bad because I actually, just by looking at the plans, I don't think it says a hugely significant intrusion, but I can't say that for sure. In terms of the 4 stories, I think that's actually a really good thing on St. Clair. Yeah, almost everything's 2-story, but this is a major street and on good transit, and I think this is the kind of place where we should be building more density and more homes. So I support this application.
So my concern with this one is the angular plane. So I wonder if there's ways to accommodate that. I really wish there was a drawing so I could actually visualize it. I'm kind of trying to visualize it in my head. I'm not as fussed about the 4 stories as well, given that there's not a height variance here. It does fall into the FSI GFA variance, but I can't support this given that it's penetrating the angular plane. So I will not be voting in favor of the application for that reason.
Okay, did you want to move a motion? Anybody?
I will. Madam Chair, through you, I would move to refuse the application mainly on the grounds that the variance for the penetration of the angular plane as described by the applicant, I don't feel is appropriate. That would be my motion.
Do I have a seconder?
I'll second it, Madam Chair.
Okay, motion to refuse the application, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Ms. Valentini. All in favor? Mr. Reid, you're dissenting? Okay, so
Yes.
the application has been refused and Mr. Reid dissents. Okay, thank you. Item number 13, 107 Everden Road. The committee has before it a copy of the site plan survey, floor plans, and elevations. And we have no opposition speakers. Can I have the agent? Are you there?
Yeah, hello, Madam Chair. Hello, members of the committee. My name is Noor Gandhi, and I'm the agent and speaker for this application.
Okay, panel members, it's only one variance we're looking at here. Do you need a presentation? Guessing not. Do you have any questions of the agent? Seeing none. Okay, Ms. Elgendi, is there anything you need to add? We've read the materials, we have no questions, and we're ready to go into committee.
No, I have nothing to add. I believe the variance is minor in nature, and if you have no questions for me, I look for your approval.
Okay, thank you. Okay, panel members, we'll take it into committee.
Madam Chair, this is a very straightforward application. It's for a one-story rear addition, seeking a variance for the side setback. They're still going to be maintaining some sort of side lot setback variance, and it's a one-story. I see no impacts. I'm in favor of the application, and I'm bringing a motion for approval.
Okay, Mr. Reid, you're seconding? Okay, motion to approve, moved by Ms. Valentini, seconded by Mr. Reid. All in favor? Okay, your application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. Item number 14, 45 Summit Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a map showing neighborhood support. Staff report from Forestry. They're asking for condition number 1. We have a 9-signature petition in support. No opposition speakers are listed. Is the agent there? Can you please identify yourself for the record? Mr. Vieira?
Jay Smith should be connected. Jay, if you can hear this, maybe you're muted.
I am the, sorry, I am the agent for the next one, 69 Westminster.
It's Marco Vieira. Item number 14.
Madam Chair, my apologies. Marco Vieira is connected.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I seem like my mic has been unmuted, so I can speak now.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. It's Marco Vieira. I am the agent representing the owners on this application.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, do you need a presentation? No? Do you have any questions? Mr. Reid and then Ms. Hayes.
Thank you. The only question I have is about the garage and the height involved. Can you speak to the height of the garage and what the intended use within it will be?
Certainly. Through you, Madam Chair. The existing garage is going to be maintained. There is sort of a hip roof design on that garage. Client wants to convert it into a flat roof so that one of the parking spots can be given to the tenant, the secondary unit. That way it gives them the opportunity to have the other car stored above. Partly because the grade at the back of the lane is also much lower than at the, let's call it the front of the garage or the side that faces the backyard. So then it appears that it's much higher than what is allowed. And the intent is basically keeping the structure of its new roof.
Okay, so just to confirm, I mean, because I see a lot of windows in there as well, but it's just going to be used as a 2-car garage, and the height is based on the difference in elevation between the laneway and the property?
Correct. We don't want to just have a concrete block wall facing the units. So that was an attempt to almost look like a little mini house where it looks like it's part of the development and it just doesn't use a concrete wall.
Okay, understood. Thanks.
Ms. Hayes? I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. I just wondered if you can provide any other examples with respect to the garage, with respect to the height and the percentage of the lot area. Looking down that laneway, I couldn't see any that were sort of the size being proposed, but I might have missed something.
No, that height is just for that existing garage. A similar situation happens south going along Caledonia, where the grade on Caledonia is different than the back lane. There's some examples of higher garages, and the same thing on the street to the west of Caledonia, which is off of Willow Avenue, where the lots towards the top half of the street are higher along the street elevation, and then the back lane is much lower. So on the aerial photograph, actually, I believe it's, looking onto Caledonia, just further down on Caledonia, there's some heights. They look like there's roofs or dormers within the roof. Not sure if that space is being used as storage or not. Our intent is basically to create a cavity in which we have a 12-foot clearance that the car can be raised and parking on above it.
So there's a car lift?
That the intent is for the owner to put a car lift so that he can keep half of the garage and have the other half of the garage being given to the tenants using the other unit.
So the windows are simply aesthetic then?
Right, it's a window that faces the back, and it's just aesthetics so that we don't have the height increase and having a block wall facing the rear yard.
Thank you.
Any further questions, panel members?
Just to beat this issue to the ground. In terms of the height of the garage, you said you're just simply taking the roof off the existing garage and making a flat roof. So is it about the same height? I think it has a peaked roof, right? Currently?
It's a peaked roof, but we intend to raise it up so that we can allow for that lift clearance.
Okay,
and the cars
so
can
it
be
is.
parked on top.
Sorry, yes, so
Footprint
it
of
is
the
getting
garage-
taller.
Yeah, the footprint of the garages remain,
Okay, thank
and
you.
so are the setbacks.
Okay, any further questions? Seeing none, let's take it into committee.
I'll jump in. I think this is a good proposal. I think it is a pretty intensive development of the site, but I think that is reflective of the pattern of development in that area. And there's a lot of garages and a lot of hardscape. So I think the variances being requested are minor, and I like that this house is set back from the street, and I think not taking that the extra GFA from the front is a sensitive way to approach this density. So I'm going to be supporting this.
Okay.
And if no one has any other comments, I can bring a motion to that effect. Okay, I move to approve this application subject to urban forestry condition 1.
Okay, motion to approve, moved by Mr. Reid, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. Item number 15, 69 Westminster Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a covering letter from Mr. Smith, the agent, correspondence in support from number 76, and 4 form letters in support. That includes one of the adjacent neighbors at 71. I don't show any opposition speakers. Can the agent please identify himself for the record?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Jay Smith, I'm the agent for 69 Westminster Ave.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, I don't think we need a presentation. It's one variance and it's pretty straightforward. Do you have any questions? Seeing none? No? Okay, Mr. Smith, we've read the materials. Panel doesn't have any questions. Is there anything you feel you need to add before we go into committee?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, panel members, take it into committee.
For you, Madam Chair, I think this is indeed a minor variance. The existing FSI is 0.7. It's a slight increase. I don't think there's been examples provided by the applicant of other FSIs in this range, so if there's no further comments from my colleagues, I'd be prepared to move a motion to approve the application.
Okay, and that, Mr. Reid is going to second that motion. Okay, so a motion to approve, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Mr. Reid. All in favor? Okay, the application has been unanimously approved. Panel members, the next item is item number 16, number 9 Lyndhurst Court. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, previous decision affecting the subject property. Forestry is asking for condition number 1, and I'm showing one person in interest, and we do have them on the line. Okay, can I have the agent please identify himself for the record?
I'm Paul Couillard at 980 Young Street, acting for the agent of the property.
Okay, Mr. Couillard, I do have one speaker, so if you can give us a brief presentation, starting the clock now.
Thank you. This application is for a modest one-room, one-story vestibule added onto the front of an existing two-story house. It conforms in all ways to the zoning, including the standard 6-meter setback for the R district. However, because of the setback averaging requirement of 10.5, 40/70, we are 3.21 meters deficient, but we are proposing a 6-meter front setback. Lyndhurst Court is a street that was developed as an extension of Lyndhurst Avenue in the 1950s. Most of the houses on this street have 3-meter setbacks in kind of a sawtooth pattern from east to west. However, at the end of the cul-de-sac, the bulb is quite close to the old estate wall and creates this shallow property at number 9. The properties to the north at the bulb are long, deep, pie-shaped lots, as you'll see on the area plan. The properties to the south orient and traverse the escarpment, and they are long, narrow, deep properties. So number 9 is one of the smallest properties on the block. However, in all respects, with the exception of setback averaging, we conform to the bylaw. There is one item with regard to how this end of block condition. There is a registered easement that allows garage access for number 9, number 10, and number 11. This development does not touch that easement. It's shown shaded in the site plan. And in fact, the driveway, which extends east from the south wall of the existing dwelling at number 9, is not changed. However, as part of providing the 50% minimum soft landscaping requirement necessitated by the addition, the existing stone wall and paving stone verge that kind of angles in from the driveway will be removed. In September, before we submitted, my clients approached the neighbors at 8, 10, 11, and 12 with the design, and they received positive comments, including emails from 8 and 11. However, this past weekend, the owners at 11 Lyndhurst Court asked my clients if they would, and I quote, reconfigure the stairs so that the stairs and your proposed planter don't go so far out as you have them now. As you know, this addition will make our ingress and egress to our driveway much more difficult than the current situation. Now, leaving aside for the moment having somebody asking for uncompensated use of private property, I would suggest that the complainants in this case are looking for more stringent side yard guidelines and has nothing to do with the relaxation of the front setback. our new addition is set well within the lines of the existing house. And therefore, I would submit that this hearing is not a proper way to address that, this item that they have, or this concern they have with regard to ingress and egress. These lots have existed since 1953. The easement was registered in 1988 and has not been touched, nor is it affected by this. So in conclusion, I would say that this is a modest addition, well keeping with the neighborhood, conforming in all respects to the zoning bylaw, with the exception of a front yard variance for setback averaging. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Levy, are you on the line?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you please identify yourself, name and address for the record?
Yes, my name is Robert Levy. I'm here in a dual capacity as the owner with my wife of 11 Lyndhurst Court and also as the president of the Casa Loma Residents Association.
Okay, I'm starting the clock now. You have 5 minutes, sir.
Before you
Yeah.
before you start the clock, just a point, first an apology, because this is my first presentation to the committee since going virtual, and I thought I could share my screen because I'd recently presented at a meeting with Councillor Layton, and I was able to share my screen. And I unfortunately did not realize that I had to submit materials by March 24th, so I do apologize. I did submit a few pictures which are in the AIC. If it's possible to pull them up, that would be great. If it's not possible, I would ask the committee perhaps to pull up some of the material submitted by the applicant. So I do apologize. Whichever way you would prefer to go, I would be happy to follow.
Okay, I'm going to defer to staff here. Can you pull up pictures from the AIC or no?
Through you, Madam Chair, if I can pull it up from the AIC. I don't know if it was submitted on time, but if you wish to pull it.
If not, then just, he said to pull up, what is it you want us to pull up from the applicant here? I'm not really sure. You
So
look
if you
at
could
like the
pull up-
plans?
Yeah. There's a CA location map, which is one of the submissions,
Okay,
and that would be helpful by context. And then there would be, earlier, I was listening, you had offered to pull up kind of with Google Maps if somebody hadn't submitted in time. There would be one address I would ask you to search if you wanted to go that way as well.
okay, what address is it? And then you let,
So it would be, yeah, if you search 9 Lyndhurst Court,
okay.
and
Okay, we've
I don't
got
know if
it,
you can
we've
see
got
that.
it up already. I don't know if you can see it.
I can. So if you can actually see, if you click on the picture showing it frontally as opposed to the satellite, so the top left picture,
Okay,
so we can actually see it from the street. And then if you can, okay, so just zoom a little left. Sorry.
yeah,
It's actually not looking at it. If you just keep going a little bit left, you'll see these are all the subdivision homes built in 1950, in the early 50s. And then you will see the subject property
Okay.
right now, and how
Okay.
different it is.
Are you-
Okay, perfect?
yeah, okay, because I'm
Sorry?
going to start the clock, so if-
Okay,
is
sorry.
that the right one?
I got it. And then the other one is the location map. As part of the applicant's submission, it says CA location map.
Okay, so it's one or the other. We can't put them up at the same time. So which one do you want now?
Oh, okay. Maybe we can just pull up the CA location map.
Okay, so I've
Then I can
started the
refer to-
clock and you go ahead.
Okay, great. So I have 3 issues to address, and the first one is that the required front setback variance is too high and is higher than the average of all Committee of Adjustment setback variances that have been granted in our neighborhood within the past 5 years, would be the highest granted, setting a precedent that would detrimentally affect the neighborhood character. The second point is the property has a unique historical anomaly, as pointed out by the applicant in their application, that has created driveway interdependence used for the past 30 years by all neighbors for ingress and egress to the 3 adjacent properties, and this change would create unintended consequences very detrimental to 11 Lyndhurst Court. The proposed change, the third point, this proposed unilateral change to the transportation pattern creates a new unworkable situation where number 11 is no longer able to enter and leave their driveway safely, especially during inclement weather. And we would request a review by the transportation department to see whether in fact we will be able to safely access our driveway. So my first point is I went through all of the minor variances in our area over the past 5 years, and there were 5 that dealt with front yard setbacks. This application is effectively has a shortfall of 54% by taking the 9.21, dividing it by 6. Walmer Road in 2017, 390 Walmer Road in 2017, 35 Wells Hill in 2017, 26 Austin Terrace in 2021, and Dartnell in February 2021. The average variances granted by the committee were 22%. None were as high as requested here. And this is basically would set a new high point that would negatively affect the character of our neighborhood. This is a concern as the president of the CLRA. Our street and neighborhood is in transition with many new builds replacing existing homes, and this precedent would be unreasonable. That's my first point. The second point is about the unique history and anomaly of this property. If you look at this map right here, when Lyndhurst Court was developed by Mr. Skopik in the early 50s, buying the 4 acres that belonged to the John McLean House at 7 Austin Terrace, the initial plan was for Lyndhurst Court to connect with Austin Crescent. At the last minute, the residents of Austin Crescent formed a petition and objected because they wanted to keep their dead end. Number 10 and 11, which is my house, were actually intended to front the street directly like all the other houses. At the last minute, the developer put in number 9 Lyndhurst Court, which you could see from the first picture I had, is completely out of character and scale and is already currently overbuilt. And the problems, Mr. Couillard also mentioned that the easements were registered in 1988, even though this was built in 50. Why a 30-year gap? The problem is the owners were fighting for 30 years, and that's how long it took to set the easements and have the prior 3 owners stop fighting. So therefore, in 2001, the applicant also applied to the Committee of Adjustment to obtain significant variances. They had a 7.5 meter setback required, only 3.8 provided. The impact was on Austin Crescent at the back, so therefore not on the neighbors. And this house is already substantially overbuilt, and the variance would allow it to be even further. There were 30 years of disputes that ensued from the 50s to the 80s. And because of the unintended consequences of not connecting these 2 streets. My wife and I purchased our home in 2006, 15 years ago, and have been able to safely enter and depart, making use temporarily of the small triangle of adjacent land at 9 Lyndhurst Court without any objections. Each of the 3 owners, in fact, make use of each other's lands beyond the registered rights of way. Again, the unintended consequence of this application is not acceptable given that this variance request is outside the range of what is acceptable. And that is the second point. The third point is we do request a further review by the Transportation Department. Each of the owners of these properties are able to enter the shared driveway forward, maneuver their car, and be able to leave forward as well. There is a slight hill decline with stone wall on both sides that makes it very, very dangerous to back in without being able to turn around and go out forward, which is why we request a further review by the Transportation Department.
Mr. Levy, you're over 5 minutes. I need you to wrap it up now, please.
Absolutely. The applicant has also announced their purchase of 16 Lyndhurst Court, one of the newly built homes. So they will be leaving this home and they will be leaving us stuck in the aftermath with this decision. So at the end, we do not think it's minor. We don't think it's appropriate. Does not satisfy the general intent. And we would ask for this application to be declined.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Levy. Panel members, do you have any questions for Mr. Levy? No? Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Couillard?
Please address.
Yeah, you have
the
a maximum of 5 minutes to address the issues raised.
I won't take as much.
Okay.
With regard to setbacks, variances are based on absolute values, not on percentages. So it conforms or it doesn't, and that's it. The property at number 9 is not overbuilt. Even with this addition, we are still under 60% FSI. So again, we are patently not overbuilt. With regard to the interface at Austin Crescent, the neighbors have complimented how the existing house appears from Austin Crescent, improved the situation that existed before. With regard to the driveway, again, what is legally there is an easement which is not being violated, and the owners at number 11 still have access to a long, thin triangle of my client's private property. If the stone wall will be removed as part of the soft landscaping thing, but in looking at the site plan, I would suggest that if the owner wants at number 10 requires more driveway access, there is room on his own property to do that. Right now, number 11 contributes nothing to the width of the driveway entering onto the bulb of Linter's Court. But in the end, with regard to strict zoning, one more thing. With regard to my client's offer to purchase number 16, that has nothing to do with what today's situation are. That house has not closed, and for that reason, having spent the time and money and waiting for this hearing, my clients want to go ahead and insist on being heard as owners of the property at number 9. This is a modest addition, and the setback at the front yard setback has nothing to do with the issues that have been raised.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Couillard. Panel members, do you have any questions of the agent? Seeing none, okay, let's take it into committee for a decision.
I'll start if, I think, yes, this is, certainly one might call it, a tighter space. Committee applications are circulated. We have no comments from transportation with respect to any concerns with respect to this. There are no comments from planning. I don't think that what's being requested is out of line, and I would, and I think it does meet the 4 tests, and I would be prepared to support the application.
Okay, anyone else want to weigh in?
I agree with everything that Ms. Hayes has just said. I look at it, they're not anywhere near the easement. I'm just looking at the plan here. There is an easement that is supposed to deal with access in and out of the driveway. So I think this is well set back. I don't have any concerns with it, and I'm in support of it as well.
Okay, I see you shaking your head up and down, Mr. Reid, so I assume you agree with the comments made. Is there anything you need to add?
I do.
Okay.
Nothing needed.
Okay, so I will propose a motion to approve the application, as I believe it does meet the tests under the Planning Act, and my motion would be subject to forestry condition number 1.
Okay, a motion to approve moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Ms. Valentini, including forestry condition number 1. All in favor? Okay, the application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. The next item number 17, 68 Normandy Boulevard. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 6 photographs of the subject property, a 3-signature petition in support by owners on Normandy and Bellhaven Road, and we don't have any speakers in opposition. So can I please have the agent identify himself for the record?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. My name is Trevor Gain. I'm the agent here for the owners.
Okay, I don't think we're going to need a presentation. Members, do you have any questions? Seeing none, Mr. Gain, we've read the material. We don't have any questions. Is there anything you feel you need to add that we haven't already read?
No, I think the application is pretty straightforward and self-explanatory.
Okay, so we'll take it into committee for a decision.
Madam Chair, I'm happy to jump in. This is very straightforward, and I'm happy to bring a motion forward. This is just a small rear second-story addition. Slightly goes over the existing footprint, but not much, and both adjacent neighbors are in support. So I don't know if my colleagues don't have any other questions or concerns. I'm going to bring a motion forward for approval, no conditions.
All right, motion to approve, moved by Ms. Valentini, seconded by Mr. Reid. All in favor? The application has been unanimously approved. Item number 18, 9 Southview Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, presentation material prepared by Isabella Crisafulli, the agent, actually showing Franco Romano speaking as the agent, and one person in interest. Are they on the line?
Through you, Madam Chair, we've attempted to contact Italo Russo, but we can't get a hold of him.
Okay. So can I have the agent please identify himself for the record?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Franco Romano here on behalf of the owner.
Okay. We did have one person, but they're not on the line here. So panel members, do you need a presentation? Do you have any questions of Mr. Romano? No? Ms. Hayes, did you have a question? Sorry, you were.
I just wondered what the current FSI was. I couldn't see it on the site statistics, but I might have missed it.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, the current FSI is 1.11. The proposal is adding about 3 square meters.
I realized that it was a very tiny addition. I just couldn't. Existing FSI. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions, panel members? Seeing none? Okay. Mr. Romano, we're ready to go into committee. We've read the materials. We don't have any further questions. Is there anything you feel you need to add?
No, I do not. Thank you kindly for the offer.
Thank you. Okay, let's take it into committee.
I'm happy to bring a motion. This is our smallest addition of the day, I think, just over 3 meters. And I had slight concerns with the rear yard soft landscaping, but that's just an existing. I don't think that's necessarily as appropriate. So I can see zero impact to these 3 meters. So I move a motion to approve with no conditions.
Okay. Do I have a seconder, Ms. Hayes? Okay, motion to approve, moved by Mr. Reid, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? The application has been unanimously approved. Okay, last item for this morning. Item number 19, 925 Bathurst Street. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a covering letter from Mr. Watt, the agent. We have a staff report from Forestry asking for condition number 2. And, okay, can I have the agent please identify himself for the record?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. This is Bernard Watt, the agent.
Okay, panel members, we have 4 variances before us. I don't think we need a presentation. Do you have any questions of Mr. Watt? Seeing none? Ms. Valentini, you're okay? Jeff? Yeah? Okay. Mr. Watt, we've read the material. We don't have any questions. Is there anything you feel that you need to add that we haven't already read?
I don't think so. I'm okay.
Okay, thank you. We'll take it into committee for a decision.
I'm happy to start. I think this is a very straightforward application. The front treatment is basically mimicking what's existing next door, and I don't see any negative impact to putting that there. I think the applicant did talk about the condition, the urban condition on Bathurst, and it being not really the best place to spend time because of traffic. And so I think having a basement unit there is a positive thing for the street and for the city. And The addition in the back is quite small and lines up with the property just to the north. So I move to approve this application with urban forestry condition too.
Okay. Anybody like to second? Okay. Motion to approve, moved by Mr. Reid, including forestry condition number 2, and seconded by Ms. Valentini. All in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved. Okay. We stand adjourned now. It's 1:07, and we'll be back at 2 o'clock. See you guys later. Sylvia,